What's up, Max? Are you in the forest?
I am, in fact, not in the forest. I am in my kitchen, but it happens that we have this forest wall.
Do you have forests like that in Sweden? I mean, in Finland?
Yeah. I'd expect this to be, I don't know, probably not from Finland, but yeah, we have forests like this.
Any animals in there that can kill you?
We have, what you call it, mountain lions. Bears.
They can kill you. Yep, those can kill you. Wolves.
Yeah, wolves.
Okay.
We have about 200 in Finland, I think.
Snakes.
We have don't know what's called in English, but a black one. I don't know. It might be a viper, but I'm not sure.
That's
that type of snake. Yeah, it can kill you. What else? I think that's about it. Not really anything else.
No. Thank you for the class on the animals that can kill you in Finland.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in Bermuda, we never had any things like that. No lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. Well, we ain't here to talk about animals. We're here to talk about RC. So I think we should drop that intro. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Nitro is the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right.
And let's get back to more club racing and less of this money-grabbing book racing.
It's hard not to be arrogant when you're always right. You know?
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant, Max.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Lefty the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about it.
Here we go. $100 right here, $100 throw. Oh no! I like this.
Yes, indeed. Nitro is the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Lefty. And we got, he's now known as the professor of everything.
Yeah.
The arrogant one himself. Maximus Mortimus. Hello, Max. How are you?
I'm doing good. I had sort of a holiday for the past 2 weeks. Was not at home visiting parents or my girlfriend's parents, but now back home, back to school, all that nice stuff. So yeah, and back to podcasting, dude.
Oh, okay. Yes, very good. Very good to have you back. Thank you. This is show number 228, everybody. Slowly climbing that ladder to 250. I'm sure we'll get there this year at some point easily. Thank you for joining us today. We want to shout out and say thank you to all of the NNRC squad around the world. We can't do it without you guys. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for hitting that like, sub, dislike button, leaving comments, all that good stuff. I think you guys seem to enjoy the last podcast. It's been very popular on YouTube. Lots of likes, lots of comments. Keep on coming. If you're listening to this on an audio app, please leave a comment, leave a review. It helps us out. And if you can, please share. Share this. It helps us out, and it just helps us grow. So we greatly appreciate that. Thank you to the patrons of the podcast. We greatly appreciate your support. You will get early release of this podcast. And if you wish to be a patron, the link for that is in the written description of the podcast. And thank you to the YouTube members as well. You have the same privilege as the patron members. Also, thank you to these awesome companies for their support. We do have a new sponsor. a new fuel sponsor. But thank you to Invisible Speed. Don't forget, everybody, Invisible Speed, March 20th, they start their lives, right? I believe. So it's going to be like Tebow, Ronafal, Battier, JQ. I think I think JQ, Battier, and Ronafal are all going to be in Spain together as well. So get in on that. They got homework. They got all that stuff. Link for that is in the written description. There's an affiliate link. Helps me out a little bit. Thank you. High Tech RC. Thank you to High Tech for all their support. Some Pedal USA. Thank you to Hefty. Our new sponsor, Sidewinder Fuel, Morgan Fuels. Glad to have them on board. Thank you for their support. Mayako, Beach RC, Techno RC, Clinic RC, Ignite Design RC, bringing gas truck back. Racecraft USA. Shout out to Carl RC, my good friend Danny Paz at WRC. He's been helping me out lately. House of RC, RCGP. Shout out to our NNRC drivers, David Ronafal, Jared Tebow, Robert Battier, and Alexander Hagberg. Remember, everybody, we have links in the written description of this podcast. There's coupon codes, there's affiliate links. Some of them don't have any of that, but if you just let the people know where you bought them from, what you heard about this on the No Name RC podcast, it really helps us out. Also, I want to say a shout out to some friends who aren't feeling too well. Tim Barth, keep your head up. Stu Trotter, keep your head up as well. Get well, Matty G on the mend, was talking to him yesterday. Joseph had a great diagnosis on the last podcast of probably why he had his spleen removed, and it's all about stock racing. And also, I wanted to shout out to a fellow podcast crew who are always at the MKGP. I just saw that a lot of them are sick from that race. So shout out to the Extra Lap RC podcast. I don't think we're going to have a podcast recap of the MKGP this weekend. So maybe next weekend. Well, maybe they did it already. I don't know. We'll have to see, but they are sick. Maybe they did it already. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. No, because the MKGP was this weekend. Yeah. Happy birthday to Dean Lloyd of All Out RC. That dude's working hard. Shout out to Katie Carmendi of Race Like a Girl. Her vlog from Loganville was excellent. I really enjoyed it. I watched it this morning. And I want to tell you real quick about this race coming up. My buddy Jake's helping to do this at Gary's RC. Gary Stoop. He's a nice guy. Big fan of the podcast as well. Talk to him. He's got a really nice backyard track. And he is going to have a team race put on by TZO, team race, happening from September 8th to 10th. It's a pretty cool format as well. I want Max to listen to this. So it's going to be a team race. It's teams of 3. And basically each driver gets 30 minutes. And then it's so whatever laps they do in 30 minutes, I think they get their own individual cars as well. And then whoever's driving, the other 2 will be pitting them, I believe, maybe turn marshalling as well. And then each driver takes a turn. And then at the end, you sum up the laps to see who wins. So each driver has to do well. So you want each one to do well. If he has an issue or he breaks or anything like that, you want to fix it and get it out there. I like this type of format. It's like supposed to be a fun type of race. For more information about that, check it out on, I have the link here. I'll leave the link in the written description of the podcast. It's on their Facebook. I just want to make sure it's on whose Facebook. It's on Gary's RC Racing. I'll leave the link for it in the written description of the podcast. Yeah, Max, what's going on, good buddy? Yeah, we've had some big races over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, probably, biggest 8K race of the year by far. And then MKGP probably. Well, and also World's warm-up for 10 scale Worlds.
Well, it wasn't a warm-up. Was it an official warm-up? I don't think so.
I mean, Orlowski went. Both SWEX European team drivers went. Neumann and Micha. So I'd say it was a... Well, if it wasn't an official one, then...
But X-Ray didn't really go over there, did they?
No, they didn't. So, but it was... I mean, I don't think it was an official...
It was the Desert Classic, but it was...
Yeah.
I didn't watch it because that's where Matty G got sick. So I was like, I just got back from, it was the weekend after DNC. I was like, I'm going to take a break. And then, I was a little bit tired. I was feeling, when I got back from DNC, I was a little bit off. I'm always a little bit off when I come off flights and, all that type of stuff. Anyway, maybe a little bit sick. I actually went out to DNC for a little bit of a cold. Fought that. Came home for that. And then like last week, Monday, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good and I'm doing stuff. And Tuesday, I'm like, oh yeah. And then Tuesday, I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good. And then like after the live of Runnerfuck, like it was like, boom, I got hit. And I don't know what it was. My wife was sick too when I came back, right? But I think I got what she had, or I don't know what I had. I don't know. All I know is that since last Wednesday, like when I did the podcast with JQ, I was so sick. Even now, I'm not even
from JQ or
well, yes, he also made me sick too. But I mean, I was just not like even now, I'm not 100%. So something hit me hard, man. I don't know what it was. It could have been the Rona. It could have been flu. Who knows? I mean, all I know is that my chest was tight because it was my asthma. It sucked. It sucked. And it sucked.
Yeah, I was actually sick too a week ago, but luckily no. Not that bad, just a basic throat ache. But I think it's kind of like the flu season too.
Dude, it I had all this stuff planned and I was gonna do all this type of stuff, and then it was like boom, nope, sit down.
Yeah.
Sit down. All right. So I did talk about JQ about DNC. Mm-hmm. We all heard that last week. He was more doom and gloom and piss and moan. You know, that's JQ always after a race like this, complaining. And of course, he was also had to tell his story, and which was fine. Mm-hmm. We did talk about the racing and stuff like that, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit more, like just shortly on a short form basis, so we can geek out about it because we made some predictions and stuff like that. We was completely wrong.
What did I predict? Runnerfuck.
I think we both predicted Runnerfuck. Well,
I think we went like Runnerfuck, Mayfield, Fenn. That's I think what I went with. Not sure, but I think
I threw Curl in there.
You did. You must have been close to Ben.
I can't remember. We should look back on these.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we kind of always forget unless one of us was right.
Well, I know that neither of us were right because Runnerfuck was not in the A main, unfortunately. I think sitting at home, what was you thinking? Like, because I'm sitting there and I'm just like, all right, he's gonna do it next round, and it just never happened.
Yeah, I was kind of like after seeding, I was like, okay, he had some issues, whatever. Then after qualies, I was like, okay, what's going on? And then because it was like the middle of the night for me, when they had the qualies. Mm-hmm. So, and I had some stuff the next morning. So the first I heard it was in the D main, was like Sunday evening my time. And then like I saw someone post like Runnerfuck finishing fourth in the D main. I was like, what the fuck? It wasn't even fourth, it was like lower down, but definitely not his weekend. But overall, from watching the races later and the finals, I guess, commenting more, on the video side of things, like in general, not just David, I think it was overall good, like watching the race. I think I really liked the close-up cams. That's something I was like, wow, that actually looked really cool. Because a lot of the times, the view we have online is like this camera from a driver's stand filming far away and the car goes there. Or then you have a still camera beside the track that barely catches the car because the car moves so fast. But the fact that they had that camera, I believe it was like under the driver's stand, and then it was really close to the action. You can actually see like the car bounce around, and you can see the body, have a little bit of that, light flicker because there's a shiny. All of that stuff, it looked really, really cool. And because the cars look much lower, like close down, I think that was also one thing that is really nice. So that was something I have never before seen, in RC, live footage, and that looked really cool. So that was one thing that really stuck to my mind.
I've seen none of the footage.
Okay, so you don't have an idea, but I think people who watched it, noticed that because they pretty much did so that they would film half of the lap with the camera by the end. Like they had two cameras at each end. I think one was still and one was moving. Those were like a little bit higher. And then, no, they had two moving cameras inside. And I think they had one moving camera on the ground level. So there was a guy below the driver's stand. So it was kind of like you had the normal view of the heightened camera and the car, like filming around the track. And then in some laps, they did like this guy who filmed the front side of the track, like especially that, bounces. And then you went into the triple. It was like really bouncy and you could see drivers pick different lines. That was definitely really cool. I think if that could be utilized more often, that definitely makes you feel like you're kind of in the track, like at the track watching the race. So that was a big, big plus I wanted to give of the video.
Do you think that's because of the track size?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I'm quite confident they hadn't really planned that ahead of time. I think they had like, okay, let's have, wire cam here. And then we have, 2 moving cams like they usually do at DNC. But now because the track was just so small, they could do, extra stuff. So I think that kind of opened up an opportunity to them. But to be honest, I think that could be, a really good thing moving forward. It's like effectively make one camera which could film most of the track and then another one which could film like half of the track, but like really close up. I think that would be really cool. And I do have to say probably the lighting was a bit better. So that's probably why the footage seemed different, because the track size is just so much smaller. But anyway, that was a big plus from watching at home. And
you're not alone, because I heard I got a lot of people that I talked to that watched it were like, man, it was great to watch.
Yeah, I mean, the overall, racing was like really good too. So that was an added bonus.
Yep.
So like there was a tight race altogether. So that was nice. But also the camera work was really nice. I mean, I do have some negative things to say. So let's just get them. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
Rip it off.
Number one was this kind of like you can't really do anything about it, but it was really messy with the lappers. The timing that Live RC has, it's kind of hard to see where people are going. It's good. Don't get me wrong, but with RC Racing TV's time, you can clearly see, what's the gap between these guys. And because Live RC has the thing where it changes, it has lap time, then it has this and there's that. So it's like if you miss it, you don't see it. So that's one thing that, and then, obviously in normal situation, when you have a 40-second lap, it doesn't matter, But here, when the lap was so short, you had so many lappers, it was kind of hard to follow at points. But okay, out of their control. The one thing that is in their control, or at least should be in their control, is a schedule. It's so fucking annoying to be like, hey, the main is going to be at like 5 a.m. or maybe 4 a.m. or maybe 6 a.m. I don't really know. I'm going to count these, I have to count like 20 races and see like what time I end up with. So why can't they have, like the pro main starts at like this time plus minus, 30 minutes. Like at least like, because for the race organizer, they will have to know like when they will end, because they have to sort of have an idea of that. So why can't they just make sure that the A main, is then and make a schedule? And because for the viewer, like there's no point in just watching all of the mains. I've never done. Maybe some people do, but I've never watched like all of the mains and then like waiting for the A, unless I was doing like wrenching and then it was in the background. But that is definitely something for all the other big American races. It's like you can quite accurately predict the A main is going to be at like 5, and even better, it would be making just a schedule. It's going to help your job too, with mains, you need, how much time you need between mains and how long the main's going to be. It's not that hard to make a schedule. Even on Excel, you don't even need the software to do it. Just use an Excel file and do it. And then just post it online. Okay, now I'm done with my negatives. And that's about the camera work. Can we now move on to the nerding out about the actual race?
Yeah, I mean, I got to watch it firsthand.
Yeah,
I watched quite a lot of the racing of the higher mains. It was really cold out there. I'm not gonna lie. It was like,
yeah, it looked cold.
Standing out there in that cold, like but you had to go out there early to like get a space, and you know.
Yeah, that must have been difficult too. So small track, so you have less like viewing space.
Oh, dude, like a lot of people saw me up on this driver stand. I would just go up there, but like I'm used to it. At DNC, I usually go, so like for the big track, I go up on the timing booth and I go right in the corner. But I go up there about like intermediate heat 3 and then wait. And it's like I'm up there for like an hour before anybody just, because everyone wants to come up for the pro mains. I kind of I liked it. It was like, hey, I'm just happy we was racing. It made for great racing. It made for shocking racing. Like you saw these guys make so much mistakes. It made for ebb and flow. I mean, in the main, when it started out, I thought like, oh wow, Fenn's gonna walk away with it, right? Then like 10 minutes later or something like that, T-Bow's in second, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
and catching him, and I'm looking at this and saying, no way.
Yeah, it was really crazy because it was like in the beginning you was watching it like, okay, it's gonna be a Mayfield fence show. Then like 30 minutes in, there's like 4 guys within 5 seconds or something. That was insane. I was like, wow. And in some, like, I think this type of track really promotes that. Like, people don't get that big of a gap unless one guy just like breaks out in the beginning, because then it's really hard to catch. But as long as you can see the guy in front, it's really like easy to keep track and keep your pace. So
you're just always in traffic. Always.
Yeah, that definitely
always in
was
traffic.
A big issue. I mean, they even went down to 12 cars, but I think they should have just went down to 10, really.
Oh, dude, it was and then like near the end, you can see the fight that like Mayfield was trying to get around Fenn, and then he finally got around Fenn, and then that was it. Like that's when he kind of walked away with it, and Fenn was trying to catch him. The Truggy main was good too, man. It was a very like Tasman had to fight.
I have to admit that one I didn't watch, but I think it was a bit of a surprise that Tasman ended up taking it.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. Tasman looked good all weekend. Like I picked him to win. When JQ and I sat out there, I said, JQ, I think Tasman's gonna win this, and he says, you know what? I pick him too, because his car looked so good in his second qualifier. And I was like, and then in Truggy, he looked really good. And I was like, yeah, he's gonna, he's got the bit in his mouth. But yeah, he just kind of, he was not, out of those guys, I don't think he was ever in the hunt for the first place. I think he kind of got into a third and fourth and stayed there.
He didn't really have that good of a, first half of the main, and then he kind of dropped out of the fight. I think Tessman is the type of driver who usually is pretty good when it's bumpy. Like, you remember that race at SCRC where him and Rivkin was fighting, and Rivkin was like really fast, but then he just kept making mistakes, and Tessman just kept doing the same lap. That was like the most screwed up track I've ever seen. Like, so bumpy, so like
blowing out dusty.
Oh no, yeah, it was awful. And Tessman was really good at that, because he's really good at just keeping his pace, So I think this kind of type of track, just like here, it was kind of like there wasn't no line. There just wasn't a line. You just went through the bumps, whichever like line you chose to be the best, and then hope you didn't crash kind of track. So I think that that's where Tessman is really good, because he can keep his pace up around the corners, no matter if it's bumpy or whatever. And whereas Fend, like, I was quite surprised he did as well as he did, because his car was clearly the most like aggressive. It was like every time he hit a bump, it like bounced off a bit or something like that. But yeah, I think his car, like if there was a clean line, he would have absolutely dominated. But there really, at some points, there just wasn't a good line. And I think that's why Tessman should have been better in the buggy main than he was. But he ended up winning the truggy, and he looked. The bit I watched of it, I watched like a clip of it, and he looked really, really solid. And he did all the wide lines, wide line, tripling in the front, all that. So especially for truggy, that was good. But yeah, I think I've written down some of my takes here. So to me, like Mayfield just freaking, I don't know what it is, but like when it's a Joey Bill track, he just always succeeds. Like, I think it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's that he's I don't know if he's home track, but he used to practice quite a bit at the Fair Farm or in Arizona because he lives there. But also, I think this race has been his like favorite. I don't know if it's favorite race, but the one he usually does really, really good at. So changing of brand still wins it. That's pretty good. I gotta say though, if it wasn't a big track, I would have picked Fend or Testament over Mayfield. Like, I'm pretty certain that he wouldn't have gotten it if it wasn't for the small track. So he might have gotten lucky in that one, but obviously that's if, and that's only an if, if we race.
Man, I did not pick Mayfield. Like, going into the main, like nothing that I saw from him throughout that weekend was like, I think he's going to win this, but that's what he does. Like, I think that's what he's
that's
doing
the thing.
A lot of lately,
That's the thing that's a little bit annoying, but at the same time really amazing at Mayfield is the fact that he didn't look good at any point of the main. It just didn't look like the car didn't look good. His driving didn't look like he was any way superior to Fend or the other guys behind them. Like, at one point it looked like, Tebow's looking really solid and he's going to take it. Fend looked like super fast, maybe a little bit too many mistakes. But the thing was that Mayfield just kept going, kept putting those laps in. And in the end, when he needed, he pushed a bit. Fend made a mistake, and then Mayfield got it, So it's just like, and I don't know if it's racecraft. I think it's just like mental strength, like he has enough speed to stay there. And then he just like wears the others out, and he's the last one standing there. I think that's like why he always ends up on the top spot. And
because that was he had to grind that out. That wasn't.
Yeah, that wasn't like domination like the few years prior to this. And I'm not saying like his car sucked. Obviously,
no. But it was just
he must have like he obviously was fine with the car and he knew what he needed to do to win because he ended up winning. But I'm just saying, like, it didn't seem like he had an easy thing going, but he just lasted it out better than everyone else.
Yeah, I would say that I would agree with that. Yeah. All right. You have heard the Mayako struggle weekend. We touched on DR flopping. Let's touch on we geeked out on Tebow last week. Obviously, JK wanted to talk about Tebow a lot.
Yeah.
Very impressed with him. Thought he was going to. Yeah. I had him fifth. He finished fifth, but I had him fifth going in this. But I did not think he would get up to the back of Fenn, chasing him down. And looking like he looked. I'm like, oof.
Yeah, there was a point in the race. I think it was like 17 to 15 minutes to go. He was in second, and he was like, I was like,
no, it was earlier than that. It was like, if this happened, where you're talking about, it happened about, I would say, maybe around the 15-minute mark.
No, it was later on. It was like
later on.
Over halfway through. He lost the brakes. He lost the rear brake.
Okay, maybe I'm lost on time, but he kind of, he got up to second at that point, and he looked really good. And then he just started, he lost the brakes and started making mistakes.
Yeah, it was like he was lingering around third to fifth until like the mid race. Then after like 20 minutes or so, he got up to second, and then like a bit under 20 minutes to go, I think he had a mistake, and then he started slowly dropping down. And I mean, I guess it's like you guys talked about it, but he lost his rear brake, and that's what really, really made him hurt. So that's a big, what if. story, but I mean, I have to say I was surprised because going into the race and talking, like knowing, like David obviously was very comfortable with the car or already last year, and he has a solid setup. Then Robert, he's been testing quite a bit. He's done good at this race before. He's running hard race, which should be pretty good at this track. So I was like, okay, those two guys should be pretty solid. Obviously, with David, it proved out the tires weren't the best ones for this race. So some homework for him. But Thibaut, I was kind of like, I was a bit hesitant because I have chatted with him, about setup. I've heard from like Joseph and those guys who's talked with him that, he hasn't felt really comfortable with the car yet. Like he's felt comfortable at times, but he doesn't have that, he isn't into the car yet, he doesn't have his personalized setup. So I didn't think like he could make a run like that, but he ended up doing it. I was like positively really surprised. So that's obviously a really good sign for the year coming because, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember Thibaut having a run like that in a while. So that's really nice to see.
I think he probably not happy with his result, but his pace was impressive.
Exactly. Yeah,
his pace was impressive.
The thing, like, I like the fact that I'm having a moment where I'm like, Thibaut could actually win this watching a race. Like, that's something I haven't had in a while. Obviously, there have been situations where I'm like, Thibaut is looking fast. But, like, at the 45-minute final and being like, oh, Thibaut could actually win it when Mayfield and Fend are still in it. That was, to me, like, looks good. So I hope he can keep it up. I hope he's, getting in terms with the car more. And, yeah. But overall, I gotta say, not a great weekend for Mayako. Definitely not a great weekend.
And not a great weekend for the Euros.
Yeah, that's what I had here next. That only 2 Europeans in the final.
And if you would have told me that, it would have been Reno Savoia and Joao Figueiredo. I'd have been like,
yeah. Like, those are the guys I would have predicted to be the worst of the Europeans. But those are the only two guys in the main. Canas, Barufalo, Batje, and Ronefalk. None of these guys made it. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Like, obviously, that I have to say this because it is true. The race was like the small track, slow speed, 180s jumps. That's like an American track if I ever seen one. So they definitely went in. And then also the amount of practice, like you had 3 qualifiers on the track. That was it. And then you went to the main. You got muddy. The track changed every time. All of that stuff, So definitely not favoring the Europeans. But still, I got to say, not a good showing for the Europeans this time around.
Dude, I watched JCC during his second buggy qualifying.
Yeah.
It was like a meltdown. Just I don't know how that engine survived. But you said no S-Works in the main. That was something too. Joe went home sick early.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe he could have been in there.
He could have made it, but to be honest, they had a decent team. And then I think they had Canas was in the B, and that was pretty much it. Like that was, and yeah, that was a big surprise because S-Works has kind of been booming this year. They have lots of new drivers. They have, BHRC to do the distribution now, I believe. So they have like a lot of things going. I don't think BHRC does distribution, but at least they are like a big hobby shop, like pushing them. Anyway, like they are kind of booming, and then the biggest race of the beginning of the year, and no cost in the main. Sending a driver from Europe, I believe he didn't make it last year. Like he didn't
go last year.
Yeah. So this was like
to be fair, Mayako didn't have anyone in the main either after qualifying.
Yeah, after qualifying, that is true. But at least they got the guy from the B. So at least you can say something.
Let's move on to
to be honest,
real quick.
Both both brands had a not so good weekend.
I would say so.
Yeah. Then
Kyosho,
one brand that had,
well, actually, JCC came second in e-buggy.
Okay, yeah.
It was a great race too.
That is true. That is true.
A great race.
So.
Kyosho. Oh my gosh! If you would have told me that it would have been 3 Kyoshos in this main. Also, I want to say something that these guys were Lutz and Savoy on AKA, and Figueredo is on Proline, and I'm telling you, like the whole shot, because I watched, and the whole shot for M4 was money. Like it was the tire. And I asked y'all, I messaged y'all the other day. It's like, dude, what tire did you run in your main? Whole shot M4. I said, I know. Yeah. AKA had probably there's good gridirons too, or whatever.
That was definitely a old school American dirt track, West Coast American dirt track. That's what like the AKA and Proline had their heyday, kind of like
right.
Gridiron, super soft, and M4 whole shots. Those two like must have been.
You know what was weird? What was weird? It was weird watching the guy Prez, who works for AKA, in an AKA shirt, like AKA clothes, giving out tires out of the Proline truck.
Yeah,
that was so weird. I need to.
It's crazy, actually. This is a big tangent, but it was crazy if like. Let's say 2014 Worlds, where that was like half of the top guys were running like AKA, half of the top guys were running, Proline, and then there were like those few J Concepts guys like Mayfield and so on. I can't remember if others were in the main running J Concepts, but AK and Proline were the big brands, and those were like we were like, oh, which one is better? Those were competing. If someone told you then, oh yeah, Horizon is gonna buy those two and they're gonna probably merge at some point, you would have been like, shut up. It's crazy.
I don't know, but I heard Greg and some other guys talking about it, that I think they've come up like with a compound that's in between those two. Like they use some of the Proline compound with the AKA Proline compound, and made some hybrid type of compound. I heard this like just over while I was busy doing work. I have to confirm this with Greg. I'm probably wrong, but some new compound or something. I don't know. Bill, I have to ask around. You want to talk about let's talk about the Kyosho track. Cars real good. Bumpy track specialist. You have her. I mean, it was. They were great.
Yeah, I think it's I'm starting to see a pattern where, and I've talked about this with Joseph a lot of times. Every time it's bumpy, the Kyosho drivers do good. It's Finland. We have this really fast kid who drives Kyosho, and every time it's bumpy, he does really well. That's like a Finnish anecdote. And then in Europe, the same thing. Like the Euros in Sweden in 2017, like that was like a Kyosho. Like all the Kyosho drivers did really well. Obviously, Boots didn't end up winning, but like in general, the Kyosho drivers did well. And then in Worlds in Vegas 2016, same thing. Every time it's like semi-low grip, low speed, bumpy. That's like the best, absolute best. Or if it's just like super blown out, then seems like they have a good thing going. And I think it's just like if you look at where Kanai tests his cars. If you look at those Japanese tracks,
that's what Joseph said.
Like that's what we discussed too. Like Kanai always tests his tracks, like test his cars at tracks that seem just like fucking dump yard. It's just like someone's built a track on some ancient road somewhere that there's like a few jumps that throw you to the sky. So obviously, you get a quite good idea of having the most challenging conditions and still making your car work. So there must be something to it, I think.
Okay. Well, Mike Sorchi will be excited to hear that.
Who's that?
He is like the biggest Kyosho fan in the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, I still think in the big picture, there are many things that could be better within the car and within the brand.
All right, well,
don't get too excited.
Let's go on to your big picture note. You had some last final here that we talked about as well. Weather has been a major issue since moving to Paris. I agree.
Yeah.
I think I didn't really get to explain why I felt like this too much, but I just wanted to reiterate. If this is going to be this great big spectacle of a race that it is, and with the amount of money that is invested in these races by the companies and by the racers that come there, and then vendors, I think this race, in order for it to be worthwhile, has to be in good weather, right? And we have to have good weather,
100%.
Because the one thing that lacked was that atmosphere. Yes, we got the racing. I've said this before, right? But it's important. It's important. I've talked to many vendors, all that type of stuff, and this is what makes this race great. Having that atmosphere, having the European drivers there, having this big track, or having this. If it gets closed up and it gets in this, and we keep getting it rained out, people, that's a loud bike outside there. People just aren't going to come. Lots of Europeans are talking about not coming and stuff like that now, especially after some of the stuff that's happened. And that's going to slowly. The reason I like this race is because of the Europeans that go there, right? And
exactly.
This is the one race that we can go to and see this.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to sort of go into here, is that the camera work is getting better every year. The branding of DNC, the dirt, it's good. The track design Joey does is good. He has his own facility now, all that. But if the racing itself is not improved, which it hasn't been, every year there's the same issues. Very low amount of track time, very long days, and then, the inconsistencies. The watering issues existed already when it was in Phoenix, like watering just before the pro heats. So if you just have a bad seating, you're going to get fucked because you run in the first heat. This year, David struggled with it, but in previous years, others have struggled with it. And it's not like this hasn't been discussed before. And I think we even said before we started that I don't think it would have done much difference for David if he hadn't seated in the first heat. He did end up having just a terrible weekend altogether. But in my opinion, just the fact that there isn't a proper watering schedule, that's one thing. Okay, so that's one thing. But in Phoenix, it wasn't that big of an issue because it ended up being dry for the most part of the weekend, and the track stayed rather consistent. Now, since it moved to Paris in 2019, first year, the original track flooded, so he had to change the location, build a smaller track. Second year, you missed practice because it rained. Third year, you missed practice and almost missed qualifying because it rained. You only ran 2 qualifiers. Or 1 seeding and 2 qualifiers, or whatever it was. And now this year, you had to change the track to a smaller location so it would be under covers. I have to give, thumbs up on Joey on the fact that he has been able to handle the situation when he's been, faced with difficulties. But after 4 years at this venue and not a single smoothly ran event due to weather, there must be some changes, okay? Because here's the thing in the end. This race has been dubbed the unofficial World Championships. That's what I've been hearing from especially the American crowd. Scotty says it always on the stream. If this is the unofficial World Championships, to me, it's a bit unacceptable that people, first of all, have to come to California early, because in most parts of the world you can't practice during the winter. You spend almost $1,000 on flights. You spend a lot on hotels because it's in California. It's expensive. You practice for a week. You get ready for this race. Most of the time, you barely get any practice. If you do, you might get 1 round in. You barely get any qualifiers. if you're lucky, you get 3 qualifiers. Most of the time, it seems it's less than that. And then in the main day, it's kind of like you have to race all the way to the night, and you haven't raced your buggy for 2 days. So it's kind of like you spend a whole lot of money. Oh, and forgot to say you have to spend like $360 on entries or something. I don't know, or $450 at this point. But a lot of money on entry. You basically have to spend close to $2,000 going to this race, or even more depending on how long you stay before the race. So you have to spend $2,000 approximately to go to this race. If your team is sending 5 guys, it's a lot of money. And then you have no guarantee of, first of all, actually getting a race. Well, okay, you have a guarantee of getting a race, but you have no guarantee of getting equal level playing field for everyone. You have no guarantee of actually getting a smoothly run race where, you have a schedule, everything works smoothly. So you effectively play a coin toss at some points of spending that money and then hoping everything goes nicely, you don't have any DNFs and so on, and you end up winning and getting good marketing, So from just a strict like business perspective, if the race stays like this, I would definitely not go to this race, because for a business, they don't give a shit about, it has a nice atmosphere, Yes, it has a nice atmosphere, but it's going to lose most of its prestige and respect of being the unofficial world championships if it's not worth the money to go to. It's going to be that old club race like it was back in the day when it was in Hammett originally, a big club race for the West Coast people. I don't think it's going to go that bad. I think Joey will understand the situation and try to figure something out. But, that's kind of the doom and gloom we can have for this podcast. But I think that was just something I wanted to bring up because, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't see this race as something I should actually go to, at the current state. I'd rather go to, I don't know, maybe AMS or some race in the South, because the risk of getting rained out is so high. If it was back in Phoenix, I think that would improve it a lot. I didn't have any issue with it when it was in Phoenix because you just didn't have that many, issues. Obviously, there was some things I'd still fix, but I think the worry of the weather has definitely put a big asterisk on this race.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's fine. I think Joey understands that. I'm sure he's heard that quite a lot over the last couple of weeks. So we shall see. But yeah, and even from the average racer that spends his own money to go to this event, and then he doesn't get that full DNC feel.
For sure. I 100% agree with that. That for the guy who goes there to race, there isn't as much value. But let's put it bluntly. Most people go there because they want to have fun. They want to hang out with their friends and all that stuff. So for them, there is still something, there are still activities there. But for those who go there just to race and just to market their brand, I doubt S-Works is happy about that weekend, Mayako definitely isn't happy for other reasons that I mentioned. And I don't think X-Ray definitely aren't sending European guys there anymore. So, and Ongaro isn't going anymore. So it's I
would agree there. Okay, real quick, and then we're gonna wrap this up on DNC because we kind of went overboard on this.
Oh yeah.
But this is apparently a part of that MOAMAL the outdoor, the mid outdoor, whatever. Look, I don't know. I should know, right? Anyway, we're division race.
No, it's Mid America Outdoors.
Mid American Outdoor. That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
So Next on the list is the Lone Star race, right? In Texas at Thornhill. I really hope that all the top pros go to this race. I hope they do.
Yeah,
and I hope they go to this, and they hope to go to Silver State, and I hope they all go to Division. Now, I would like to go to Division's race. I think it'd be a great race to attend. You know, it's a little difficult, but I would like to go. And I hope that the companies send the top pros to Thornhill. I hope they do. Oh,
100%. Yeah, that's definitely needed.
All right, enough about that. We have to move on to some RC news, but we have to pay some bills before we do that, Max. So, you know, one of our prime sponsors of this podcast is Venables. In fact, they are the title sponsor, and they have their lives coming up here soon. You should sign up now, get in on all the lives and all that good stuff. And, you know, we have a link for that in the written description of that podcast. And I really like JQ's video ad for this. So for those of you listening to this on the audio side of things, this is the Invisible Speed European ad that doesn't work anymore. Alrighty, Max. Also, the RC news is brought to you by High Tech RC, who is celebrating the 50th year of operation. That's a long time to be in operation. They just signed one of our good friends, the Viking, David Ronnefeld. He went on a nice tour of the facility. They were at DNC. I got to hang out with Mike Mabry. High Tech has been very good to me here at the NNRC, so I greatly appreciate the support. It was good to be out there. They look sharp. It was High Tech everywhere, dude. Like the tents look great. They had swag going on. They had product on display. They're all headed out to the RCX Expo this weekend. So I wish them all the luck. Check them out. They have a new charger out in stock. It's the RDX2 1000 AC/DC dual port charger with a discharge and power supply. It has a sleek modern design with easy transport handle. The RDX2 1000 Powerhouse is the charger you need to charge all your high capacity battery packs at a rapid rate. The dual out ports each offer 20 amps of power simultaneously to charge two batteries. Also, check out the Analyze and Discharger. Street price of this is $279.99 for the charger, $149.99 for the Analyzer and Discharger. And you can go to www.hightech where to buy to find this. I believe A-Man will have them in, but if you do buy them, just let them know that you heard about it on the No Name RC podcast. So thank you to High-Tech for all the support. We greatly appreciate it. And they helped us get to the DNC. All right, Max. So we do have some questions here. I'm just shutting down some stuff here. I've got too many pages open. And a loud bike out there again. He is just leaving. So I think I want to start out with the news that kind of got people rocking this weekend was that the AKA Clay Slicks have been chosen as the spec tire for the upcoming 2023 IFMAR World Championships. And of course, that starts the whole, why do we need spec tires? And that was the biggest one. And no, Max, there's no saucing going to be allowed. I was listening to the Extra Lap podcast, and Jake Thayer was on there. He was talking about the Desert Classic, and there will be no saucing allowed whatsoever. No.
Okay, so that was my first question, because I briefly saw the news today. Didn't have time to fully catch up on the thing, but I saw you'd be having, AK slicks as the spec tire. So first of all, to anyone who says, why do we have to have spec tire? I don't remember the last time the IFMAR World Championships didn't have a spec tire.
I know. That's what people fail to realize sometimes when they're like, oh, what do you mean a spec tire? I'm like, well, this is normal for 10
Yeah,
scale.
This has been a thing for the European Championships and the IFMA World Championships in 10 scale off-road for as long as I've raced RC, and that's what, almost 15 years now. So yes, I think that's
the
a valid question.
I think the only world championship that may not have a spec tire is the 8-scale off-road world champions, Nitro off-road world champions.
I'm not sure about
I could be wrong.
on-road foam classes. I'm not absolutely sure.
I think
but 8-scale off-road is like one where tire game is a big one still.
Yeah.
And I am a big advocate for getting rid of that. You know, you're traveling across the world, 5-6 companies sending tires across the world, more than half of which will never be used, just so they might have the right one for the race. That's not effective, you know, not definitely not effective.
Also, I wanted to touch on something was then came the complaints of slicks on off-road, because obviously I think to outside of Americans who are used to this, and this is what happens on this type of clay, probably the other, you know, I definitely know you guys don't have anything like this similar to this in Europe, maybe in Australia or something like, I don't know, but that started a whole bunch of cries. But I want to talk more about the tire. Like, okay, so look, off-road is off-road. It's got jumps. It's dirt. Just because it doesn't need to be off-road to have dirt, because you have carpet with jumps. So it's off-road. Let's just say anything with or leaves the ground is off. Yeah. Except
I think
you might flip. Where that's on.
I think, you know, it's silly to say, oh, it's spec tire, because obviously yes. And I think it's a bit silly to, you know, even argue against the slicks. So if you look at any American race, they always run slicks at this point. They round down their, what you call those? What
run on to
dirt, dirt webs. They ground out so that it's ghost thread or whatever they call it. They do that because the carcass is softer and thinner than on the official slicks. The manufacturers do manufacture slick tires, but they aren't as fast as the ground down tire with originally having a thread. So the people put it onto a fucking drill and Dremel it
so
off, which is
here's the big thing
stupid.
about this. Here's the big thing about this, and I was listening to this on the Extra Lap podcast.
You seem so excited. I want to.
Yeah, because it was good to sit off and just chill out and I do listen to podcasts, but like chill, no fast forward, just chill and listen to it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I heard that you need sauce at this track. I heard that this track changes so much, and Aiden asked these same questions, and I guess I would assume that they tested do they? I don't know how this process works, but I assume they test probably the best tire they can find to work without having sauce.
Well, to be honest, dude, it's if more. So they definitely.
But I think it's up to the host. Testing. Isn't it up to the host track? Because it sounded like they.
No, not always. It's okay. Like if I expect that Hobby Action actually did test the tires and they chose.
Oh, he said they did.
I'm not saying Hobby Action didn't do their part, but it's just IFMA. They don't give a shit what Hobby Action do. But I think Hobby Action, you know, they did test the tires, and this probably was the best one out of the one they tested. But I do still have many doubts, because if saucing is banned, it's gonna be like people are gonna try to sneak in there, because it must be a huge difference on that type of clay, because they always sauce on that type of clay. If it was like CRC, RC, that type of race where it's like super, you know, grippy, glued up surface, then maybe not that big of a deal. But Hobby Action is one of those tracks still left which has that kind of slippery surface, you know, it's not that hard packed and so on. It's a little like slimy. So it's gonna be like those.
It's gonna be
like the 2013 Euros where they had, you know, a gated section where you could only glue the tires, and then before your heat you had to go in there, put the tires on, and then go on the track. You couldn't even have the tires in your pit, and there was a guy guarding the space. So yeah, every time you run a threaded tire, or especially if you run a slick tire, sourcing is gonna be a thing. And then you know what's gonna happen? This was happened at the Euros in 2013. So people have cleaner because you have to clean the tire somehow. So what happened is they were like, in the warm-up, people brought their own cleaner or something. And they were like, people were obviously bringing in sauce and saucing the tires. I don't know if that happened actually, or if that was what they guessed. But at the Euros, they had control tire cleaner. They had simple green, which you could only use to clean the tire beam before gluing. Well, what people did is they were like started accidentally like putting simple green on the tire. So then they were like, well, we can't control if you're just sloppy. So they were like, fuck it, spray simple green on your tire all you want, you know? So people were like using all the simple green that was reserved for people actually cleaning the bead before gluing, but they were just using it as additive, which doesn't work. It doesn't really help you. Maybe the first lap, but that's it. So yeah, all I'm saying is I'm expecting it to be a shit show. I am hoping to be surprised. I hope to be pleasantly surprised.
Well, they seem to. I listened to him, and he seems to have he's like, no, we're gonna do it. Like they're very set on being very professional about it. I know what you're saying with so they talked about that. They said, what about cleaning? You can only clean with water. You can only you have to clean with motor spray. Like I think you.
Yeah, but
I don't know if
as soon as someone can bring their own can of liquid in there, then you're in trouble. Because
I don't know how all that works. That's above my base.
But I hope the guy who is responsible for this, you know, actually like does thinks of the stupidest absolute way to cheat, like someone bringing in a Coke bottle and accidentally spilling it on their tires, you know, shit like that. Like absolutely, like make it dumb strict, you know, make it absolutely stupid. And then you're safe, you know. But if you leave like some interpretation there, like definitely don't let people bring their own shit in there. Glue and tire bands, and actually don't let them bring anything in there. The tires are sold in there. You can use the glue that the race organizer provides. You can use the towels that the race organizer provides. That's it. You can't bring anything in there. No liquids, no spray, nothing, you know. Mm-hmm. You can have a phone, but like nothing that could be interpreted as additives, and have it as like secured, gated, and then, you know, have a separate section where you put on the tires before your heat. And that's where you make it certain. But every time you run an indoor race under controlled tires and no sourcing, there are huge risk of someone cheating, and the benefits.
So the answer is just to have a controlled source or allow it. Simple.
Yeah, in my mind, the easiest way would be just to have a control source, because when you have a control source,
people will still cheat there though.
No, listen to this, because this is the thing. When you have a control source, often enough, when everyone's running the same tire and the same source, when you have a different sauce, what happens is that rubber handles in a different way, so it's not as grippy. But when everyone has the same sauce, same rubber, it sticks to the ground in the same way, and you know all that. Obviously, some sauces might still work and be actually better, but it is less of a chance that happening.
We shall see. It's going to be interesting.
And also the difference between a good sauce and a like mediocre sauce, it's not that big as not saucing and saucing, you know?
Well, speaking of saucing, Josh Cyril, he had a live the other day talking about saucing, the dangers of sauce. He's like making drag tires, and some of this sauce out there is eating his tires. And then he went on to talk about how over the years in RC industry, he thinks from this saucing and graphite dust and all stuff, he's had serious nasal issues, and there's people that have cancer.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%.
He had a whole live about that. So
yeah,
maybe no saucing is also the safe way too. I don't know.
100% this. That's what I've always been saying, that you shouldn't sauce. But the thing is that like the easiest solution is just run on surfaces where you have to run spec tire that has pins, because then saucing doesn't help you that much because the pins will just fold more. But yeah, 100% on the health issues, the carbon dust, all that shit. And definitely the saucing is not healthy for you.
I would say that nitro fumes inside of a building too would hurt you. And
yeah, nitro. But I don't think nitro is, well, it's definitely bad. There's so much oil in there, so much shit, you know.
Anyway, that's
but okay. I want to make it clear. I'm actually quite confident that Hobby Action will do it properly. Looking at all their previous races, their venues, my doubts aren't towards Hobby Action. I'm just saying these conditions are very.
Somebody gonna try to cheat. Somebody gonna try to cheat.
Yeah.
Somebody.
The thing is, like this is something that seriously needs to be taken account for, and even if it's taken account for, like in Sweden. It was a huge drama about the simple grid. Like people were like getting mad and all that. So,
I could imagine.
Yeah. So
RC relations get mad fast.
Yeah.
RC nerds going wild.
Yeah. So nothing against Hobby Action, and I have no idea what they're actually doing. But I'm just saying this as what could happen. Okay, so don't hate on me. Don't shoot the messenger, okay?
Yeah, don't shoot Max. Speaking of this race, Rivkin swept the Desert Classic. Great win for him. I didn't watch it. Oh man, I think this is gonna be. You know what, Max? I'm gonna be straight up with you. You want my honest opinion?
Yeah,
and I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the Europeans stand no chance at this race.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me talk something, and I'll get the results. So.
I think it's going to be a very difficult race for them. I wonder if these guys are practicing on those tires, but they didn't know. Nobody knew at that time what they were. But I don't know if guys do well, it's going to be guys that have run maybe like Reedy race at OCRC, maybe like a Runner Falk, Yorns, those type of guys. So we shall see. We shall see. Also, it's going to be interesting. Did you find results? Because I
don't understand why is it so hard to find results.
What are you looking at?
I'm trying to find the results, but just
all right.
I'm not doing it the old way, just finding from the.
Okay. What I think with Rivkin being so close to this track and Mayfield being so close to this track, and this just being on a type of surface that Americans only race on, I think. Yeah, of course. I think the Europeans. I don't know. It's weird though. Like, what if a guy like Coelho comes over and is like, "Oh, this is nothing," and he's like,
okay, So I got the results. Okay. So, let me actually share a screen so we can.
Okay, let's share this
together.
I don't know. Yeah. Man. What if somebody like Ongaro just if you would have told me Ongaro would have been battling for the 2-wheel drive championship?
So this is 4-wheel drive. Rivkin won, Champlin second, Horn third, Sontag fourth. And Fend, I don't know what happened to Fend actually.
No.
I have no clue. Mayfield in the B, Tessman in the B, Cavalieri in the B, Neumann Whitmire in the B, Lee in the C. And yeah. So I gotta say it's a bit weird.
2-wheel drive. I don't know, man. It's gonna be some seriously good European racers at this race too, and guys that are really good at 8 scale.
Orlowski was 4th. It's not that he sucked. And Fend was 6th, you know. So Orlowski beat Fend, who is the big hope of America going into the 10 scale world.
Not according to these results.
Yeah. What the hell? Testament in 20th, Cavalieri in 22nd. And Lee definitely didn't have a good weekend.
Dude,
either.
Cavalieri didn't have a good MKGP either. He is not adapting well to these Schumacher cars. But let's segue into that. All right, maybe the really good 1/8. Like I think. All right, so give me 3 Europeans you think can make the main.
Ronefog, 100%. He's fine.
Are we going to continue to jinx him?
I mean, I don't give a shit, but I mean, he's always been fast on American clay. Like he finish like 3rd on Reader Race once, and I think he's been up there. Yeah. So and he can pick any car he wants. Yeah, Ronefog definitely going to be in the A. Orlowski definitely going to be in the A. Okay, Ronefog with the asterisk of I don't know how much practice he can get because he will definitely be preparing for the Euros. And then the 10 scale worlds are the next week. So actually, I'm going to say Ronefog probably doesn't make the main because he might not actually be even going, to be honest, because
he's not sure.
Yeah, because last what I heard from him was he is going to Spain at the end of August to practice for the Euros and then race the Euros. And then after the Euros end, the next week is the 10 scale worlds. So effectively, he's going to the 10 scale worlds after racing month of only 8 scale. So, I mean, to be honest, I don't see him even going. So let's forget all that. So, okay. Orlowski, he's definitely going to be in the main. Because if you look at the last what?
Give me 3. Just give me 3. You don't have to explain.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Okay. Orlowski, Ongaro, and
I doubt Ongaro goes.
No, he's going. He already posted his list. Yeah, okay. He posted his race schedule and he's going. He's doing 10 scale Euros too, I think. He's doing okay. He's doing quite a bit of 10 scale.
So you're not picking a Karup or any of these guys to get there?
No, Karup, no. But I'm gonna throw in a curveball. The guy who was fastest in 2-wheel drive seeding in 2019 World Championships. Do you know who I'm picking?
No.
European driver.
I don't know.
TQ'd seeding in 2019 Worlds in 2-wheel drive.
Was it Bruno Coelho?
No, Joona Haatanen. Joona Haatanen, top 10 finish and reader race last time he went. Definitely a fast guy. He's going to get out of the military in the middle of the year. He's going to practice for 2 months non-stop of 10 scale. Nothing else, just practice 10 scale. Gonna make his mark on the 10 scale world, go into a full-time professional, or if he does make it, then it's what it is.
Yeah, I think this is the time for him. This is good or not. Go on now. Yeah or nay. He did make the main at FCC. You know what? I can't argue with that.
And he made the main in the last Worlds. In 2019, he made the main. Yeah.
So, all right, cool. All right, okay, cool.
In 4-wheel drive, though, Coelho is going to be there. So, in 4-wheel drive, you're going to have Coelho in there as well. So,
okay. All right, let's move on. Two great events this past weekend. I want to touch on both of them. First was the first Raw Nationals under the new presidency of Clayton Young, who's actually going to be our guest next week. He's coming on to give us a recap of his first few months in as president. It was the Onward Carpet Nationals. It was held at Apex Raceway in Tennessee. Man, I have had nothing but positive results, positive comments about this race. One guy even tagged me, Mark Thomas, and he's like, look, Lefty, a schedule. Like they had a schedule for he knows where it's going to race. I was like, oh, Max would love that. I was told, so what's happened is the coverage was a lot better too, because Live RC sent 2 people instead of just one, just like a camera guy. So they sent 2 people, one guy to do the OBS and the all that stuff, overlays and all that there. And then they were doing like I think Randy Castor was doing pictures, like for pictures. And then I believe of One Up, I believe like they were making their own little social media posts like of TQ and all that stuff. But man, I think that for the first of, and I must say that this guy actually races the race too. So not only is he there as the Raw president, but he's also racing the race. And from what, but he comes from more of an honorary background, so this is more of his people. But great race for them.
For anyone saying anything, the president doesn't actually lead the race. There's a separate race director. Yeah, they have a race management team, but he's also there as a racer, as the president, right? Which is great because I've been to 2 nationals and I had yet to see the president of Raw at those races. So that's great. It's great to see that he demanded, like, I know he wanted Live RC to step up their coverage. He wanted better coverage for those. Live RC does a good coverage for the Fuel Nationals or the bigger races where they can get sponsors for these smaller races. He wanted better coverage. They sent 2 people. So that's good to see. And he's been he made a report, his own personal report about the race. So it's good to see. It's small, it's good steps, it's small steps, and it's in a positive form. Also, Raw has an IG now, so follow it at raw.racing, all lower caps as well. So great event for them. Their next race up is the Off-Road Corporate Nationals being held at Beachline. Unfortunately, I think it's going to suffer with entrance because a lot of people, it's still like it's the second year of this Off-Road Corporate Nationals thing. And I think a lot of people, it did well last year, but I think it also was up in the Pacific Northwest with a really, really big carpet based clientele. Yeah. Now it's in Florida, and there's a lot of Florida races, but I also think that the world's being on dirt, and also the nationals being very close because in Georgia, the dirt nationals in Georgia. Excuse me. More people will focus on that. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Keenan is struggling with his asthma. But yeah, I hope that wouldn't be the case, to be honest. And isn't Beachline the race they hold?
That the Florida Carpet Championships that I went to. So it's a great facility.
Yeah. So I think, and don't they get quite a bit of entries there?
It's full. It gets capped. Full.
So I think they're going to be good. And the Florida or the Beachline Raceway guys, I think they do a solid job every year. The track looks cool. They do really good on like coverage, exposure, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I wouldn't expect nothing less than quite a good event, and I think people are going to go. At least the top.
We'll
guys.
see.
It's like,
I just don't think it's going to get as much as the last year because of the world's being on dirt and everyone's running dirt. And also, the dirt nationals is over. State over. It's in Georgia.
Yeah, but it's
coming up soon.
Time of year, right?
Yeah, but not that much.
I don't know. I like to believe people would.
Actually, it will be later. It's like it's later on in the summer. Sorry.
Yeah. The thing is, like, Florida is the home state of J Concept, so I'd expect like all of the big J Concepts guys going, and then I'd expect Tessman to go because it's a Raw race, and I think that's all.
No, I think the top guys will go there, but I mean that's what I want to watch, but it should be interesting. Also, but let's get on to this event. I'm gonna just. Because we're actually going to have a recap with Will. Well, I am doing a recap of the event. So I'm not going to geek out too much on it. But, man, I was sick, but I watched a good bit of the MKGP. Mm-hmm. I've watched this race from when it first started. And now I liked it when the conception of it, having the 10-scale carpet racing in a shopping mall in Milton Keynes there and busy shopping mall there. Milton Keynes, Great Britain. And wow, it was huge. Like you had Broc Champlin, you had Cavalieri there this year, and I would love to see more Americans go to this race next year. In fact, myself, I want to go. I'll tell you what. Not that I don't want to go DNC, but I don't think I can do both. I would rather go to this race next year than DNC.
I mean, that's a bold move, but I can see why. Like, in my notes, I actually dubbed that this could be like the new Neo race for the UK scene, for the 10 scale side, obviously, but kind of like the similar thing. It's something special, you know. At that time when Neo was, there weren't many big indoor races like that. And now, like, 10 scale is obviously all indoors, but this is in the middle of a shopping mall. The amount of crowd, how it looks, the track's always amazing. The club who hosts it is really, really good. Silverstone Club, yeah, they are really solid. And
I used to go there, you know.
Yeah, and
I used to
also
do club races there.
Yeah, and also what they have is good coverage. You know, they've had RC Racing TV before, but they now.
So
do
you know who that coverage team was? So they had Raceway 1. He was there doing his stuff, which was great. But do you know who the team was that was covering it? The DDR team or whatever it was?
No,
DDR TV?
No, yeah, but it was a new company.
Yeah, they are the BRCA media team.
Sweet. Okay. That's solid.
So this was like their first big stream.
Yeah.
It was good. It wasn't
okay.
Like,
yeah, there was some issues for sure. Like I have to say, there was issues, but
there was some issues. But it was good nonetheless. Like audio issues with Scotty, like Scotty's mic was like clipping like crazy.
Oh yeah,
but
that too. That was a good move, getting Scotty over there.
Yes,
that was definitely something that from the previous years was a big improvement.
Well, I think what it does,
like at the mall, like his voice, like it attracts people.
It's just
when he's going there on the mic, like you can criticize him for like sometimes going over the top or whatever your criticism is. But one thing I always really liked about Scotty is no matter what's happening, he can keep it excited. And sometimes at EOS, I just stay to watch the lower mains because Scotty makes it exciting, you know? It's like
not only that,
good races and like,
all these English voices, and then you hear this blurring American voice over everything.
That too.
So that's going to attract people there anyway. Like, who's this American? Who's this Yankee? Or who's this Yank over here? That's good. You know, something like that. And I was talking to a friend of mine, Martin Owen, who's the chairman of the BRCA, the emperor of everything, by the way, of the Extra Lap RC podcast. So he told me about that. And,
emperor of everything.
Excuse me.
Is he like a competitor of me because he's the emperor?
Oh, he is dubbed the emperor of everything. But he is the chairman of the 10 scale side of the BRCA. So he was telling me. So I thought I think that's super impressive. I mean, we always talk, even though BRCA uses that antiquated damn timing, right? They used
live RC this time.
I know. I loved that they use live RC because then you know why? Because the Americans can follow it easier.
Yeah.
Right.
But to be honest, like when they use the BBK RC live,
that sucks.
No one can follow it. Not even the UK can follow it.
Yeah. But as an event, I think this is great. I think we need more of this stuff. This gets our 100%. Sport out in front of people. I was told that like people were just like, it was just nonstop, you know, and then people would come in. I think they had a little play area for people, like an area set up for people to learn about cars. See, all this, it isn't just about putting a race there. It's not about putting an event there and then making it available for people to come and understand the hobby and the sport. Yeah. So great event. Kudos to this guys. We do a full recap with Will. Hopefully, he said, you know, as we're recording this, we haven't recorded it yet, but I think that next year we'll see more. I hope to see some Dakota fans, and I hope to see some Rivkins or these guys going over there. I hope so.
100%.
And I hope to be going over there.
I think Associated definitely should send like Rivkin over because they like AE presence in the UK is very big. Like CML is a big distributor. Then you know, I'm a bit hesitant on TLR because they don't have a European presence. But I'd like to see Fent being sent over. And why not more people?
Yeah, why not more? And also like the race, like A1. Okay. Orlowski swept it. He took the wins, but like, dude, like the young talent that's coming up in that 10 scale, right? Look, I try to me and my buddy were watching this. He's an American guy that has a young stepson, or he calls him his son, who's racing. And I'm known him for a while, and like now the kid's like he's getting better. So we was watching this, and he was like, I was like, you know, like that kid Karap's like 14 years old and a European champion, right? I said, how many? Yeah. I said, how many 14-year-old national champions do you have in America? None.
Yeah.
You know, and I said, and we just got talking. It's like, yeah, I said, when you talk to these kids, they race 10 scale, they race 2-wheel drive. I said, they mostly race 2-wheel drive. 4-wheel drive is just something they probably do at bigger races.
Yeah.
And I said, like, when I talk to these kids in England, their goal wasn't, I want to be a pro driver. I want to make a nationals in England. I wanted to make a nationals final. Mm-hmm. So I think that also that AFRA as a strong federation grooming these young racers and making and the BRCA as well, because the individual federations of these countries grooming these young guys and helping to I think you're seeing like these young guys, like I mean it, like we've seen multiple 15, 14-year-old European champions.
Yeah, you know, I think David was around 16, 15 when he won his first 8-scale European championship.
And you know what that comes from?
15. Neumann was 15 when he won his Euros in 10 scale.
They're concentrating on 1 or 2 classes.
100%.
I think so.
That is definitely a big thing, and also it's also an attitude question. I have to say that, like, there is a different, you know, more structured form of stuff. You know, when you go to races, it helps for kids when you get a lot of practice, you know, and then when time goes on, you get better at it and better at it. But in America, it's like you always race. You go to a club race, you go to a weekend race, you just race, and you don't do a lot of like practice. And practice can even be like when you have practice, it's in the middle of slashes and all that stuff. In Europe, it's a bit more structured, and that helps, especially the kids, because they get hang of it, you know. Both things have their sides, obviously, but I think that is a big thing too. But definitely federations, structure, things like that make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Max, we've been going for like an hour and a half, and we haven't even got the questions yet. We're just excited to be talking, I think. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna cut it off at RC News there. We're gonna go on. I know we're gonna get to your thing as well. I think we'll do that at the end. But we're gonna do that at the end of the show. We're gonna go on to the bench racing Q&A, and that is brought to you by Beach RC as well as Clinic RC. So let's pay some bills. We have links for all of these in the written description of this podcast. Thank you to Clinic RC and Beach RC for all their support. And show them some love, everybody. Please show them some love.
BeachRC.com, the racers' one-stop online hobby shop. Choose from all the popular brands and variety in stock with super fast shipping and great customer service. BeachRC.com still has the local hobby shop feel with all the benefits of the internet. BeachRC.com is the exclusive distributor for Ultimate Racing, JQ Racing, Pro Circuit Racing Tires, Nitro Lux Fuels, and Assault RC Performance products. So fill up your cart and check out at BeachRC.com today.
That's right. We have links for Beach RC in the written description of this podcast. Also, thank you to Clinic RC, who are the new importers of the Race Tech engines. You can check them out at clinicrc.com. And thank you for all of their support. All righty, Max. We do have a few questions, not too many. I'm going to implore you not to go into complete and total science mode.
Yeah, there was a few questions I might have to. I know this is your favorite part of the podcast.
You know, we all have our favorite parts. JQ is ranting. Yours is questions. JQ likes questions too. except when he doesn't feel like answering them. Anyway, we're going to start off some Instagram questions. My question is from Racer. See, I need my glasses. Racer XC. I don't know. I can't see that. My question is, when the hell is Richard Saxton going to call me back? The more he delays, the longer it takes for me to make my comeback. Also, did Rivkin block me? Is he afraid of my speed of the track? It's me, Jason Ashton, 2004 world champion. What's up, Jason Ashton? That was funny. All right, so we had some questions from the Instagram stories. From Vivo71, the trend in 10 scale seems to be going from 12 millimeter to 13 millimeter. Will 8 scale go to 17 millimeter?
I mean, I think Agama already has done it.
Yeah, aren't they at 17 millimeter?
Yeah, but to be honest, I doubt it, and I hope it doesn't happen, because I think there are other ways of making the shock work other than, doing that. So, in my opinion, I hope not, I don't see it happening, to be honest. Like, the difference is bigger when the shocks are smaller,
Okay. Agama seems to be the only ones that went to 17 millimeter, right?
Yeah.
Nobody else has gone up since then, and they've had them for quite some time. Real quick, give me the benefits and non-benefits.
Well, non-benefits obviously added weight, so it's heavier. The disadvantages are the fact that, the advantages are the fact that you will have more space inside the shock. So effectively, when you push the rod in there or the piston in, the shock shaft will go in the body, which means that there's less room inside the shock body because it's outside. There's when the shock shaft is outside of the shock, you will have space inside the oil. So when you push it in, that space will fill, and essentially what you will have is you will have to make the shock slightly unpressured, and then when you push it in, it's a bit overpressure. Okay, so this is not optimal. The pressure changes quite a bit when you have a bigger shock body. The effect of the shock shaft will be smaller. So you have bigger volume of oil. So the percentage that the shaft fills will be smaller, and the increase of pressure will be smaller. So you're basically just balancing the pressure differences with the shock shaft in there and out of the shock. That's essentially what's happening. But I think the fact that when you go to a certain point, the shock shaft, the percentage difference won't be as dramatic anymore, because it will be a portion of the body. So if you have a really small shock body, the shock shaft will be a really big part of it. And when you get to a certain size, my expectation is 16 is already a bit overkill, but I think that's where we kind of settled.
What do you think is the ideal size?
I would have to test it properly. I would like to go the smaller shocks because the weight savings is there, but I think we would need different type of pistons where you can adjust damping depending on speed, because right now we rely a lot on the pressure and then the hole size, and then we kind of just make a huge compromise and just be like, okay, this is the best for this track. Whereas we could move into pistons which would have, let's say, shim packs or flaps or whatever. What is the best solution? I'm not sure yet, but have a solution like that where you could adjust damping relative to speed. And not only, I'm not talking about, the MIP pistons where you have more rebound than inbound. I'm talking about pistons which have different damping relative to the speed. So basically a flap that opens when you cross a certain speed threshold.
Okay. I think JQ was talking about a little bit about this the other last podcast.
Yeah. But I think sort of if we run these pistons, it might be that going to
not to mention it's more oil. You're gonna have to spend more money on oil. Like the bigger the shock body, like you're gonna spend more money on oil. You know, come on.
I'm. This is my very subjective opinion that 40mm shocks are better, but I haven't run them in a long time because they just don't exist, and I would have to test it out to make sure. But just because they're lighter, and I'm quite certain the difference in
I wonder
14 to 16 is not enough.
I wonder because there's 14. This is like the 14mm of what we used to use back in the day, right? Like Kyosho shocks.
Some were even smaller, but
right.
For example, the first JQ that came out had 14mm. So.
Right, but imagine back in the day when you had those small shocks, less weight, right? Now, but with these buggies with battle materials, lighter materials, all this type of stuff, like maybe they perform better.
Yeah, that's kind of my argument. Like if we had the smaller shocks, we could save weight from them at top. And in general, we don't have as bumpy tracks anymore. We don't. Our cars go faster around the track. We don't rely that much on suspension. Like the cars are better otherwise. So I think, there could be a chance to move that way. But I think it might require, a different piston to improve the shock otherwise.
As well.
And then you go into a smaller diameter.
I get it.
But I mean, that's something I can approve. And I haven't tested since 2016. So, yeah, I cannot say anything.
The basement, David Baum wants to know, have we got you in a lab coat yet? No, we haven't. We need to get you one.
I don't think we have them at school. Well, we have them, but like at the actual.
We need to get some pictures of you in one. We need to get some pictures.
Yeah, maybe I need to go talk to the chemistry students. They might have some.
Okay. So this question has been asked quite a few times. I think you didn't know the answer the first time. I think JQ, I missed it or didn't want to answer it or didn't know about it. But Mark Bruton, Young RC, Team X-Ray locking diffs in the XB2 and XB4 benefits, drawbacks, would they work in the 8 scale XB8? I actually tagged you in this.
Yeah. So this one is effectively, these are like, they used to be called active diffs. I don't know if they still call it active diff, but they had it in 8 scale. They released it, I believe, 2007 for the 8 scale. That's where they first had it. Now, recently, they have released them in the past 2 years, I think, for first the 4-wheel drive car and now the XP2. So what it does, so effectively have a diff that will start to have friction due to these little, it's not plate, it's kind of like a conical thing inside the diff. So once you get force in the diff, it rotates this disc a little bit, which pushes, the pins rotate and it pushes this disc a little bit outwards, which has friction within the conical thing that's around the bevel gear. Okay. If I had a picture, it'd be a lot more clear, but effectively this is what it does in mechanical terms. Now on track, how this performs is when you go in power, the friction provides more locking to the diff. Okay. So essentially, you can run a softer diff oil, which makes the car turn really nicely around the corner and have good entry steering. Then you can go in power and the diff will start to lock up, which means you will still have a lot of drive on power. So regularly, we have to make this compromise between having a stiff diff for drive, but a soft diff for turning, and you have to find the right balance, With this diff, the idea is that you don't have to make that sacrifice. You have the best of both worlds, good entry steering, mid-corner steering. Once you go in power, you have the locking, a lot of drive. Now, the issue with these diffs has generally been that it's really hard to get them to tune right. The angle of the plates, so the plates have this little like triangle thing, and then the pin is situated in the middle of this. So as soon as it rotates, it kind of pushes thing, which pushes the plate up. Okay, so the angle of these plates has a huge effect of how the locking is, how the locking happens. So the shallower the angle, the faster the locking happens. The sharper the angle, the slower it happens, but it might be more aggressive, you know? Okay, and then you effectively tune the preload with the oil. So the fact that these are quite hard to tune is the biggest drawback. It's hard to get it to work absolutely right, especially on low grip. On high grip, it's much easier because you can have, basically you can run the same oil as you usually do, but you just have it more locking when you go and drive. So on high grip, most of the times it probably will benefit you. In tool drive, I bet this will be actually a really good thing on carpet because especially on the X-Ray, they had this issue where the inner tire would start ballooning out of corners because the car was really long. They had to make it quite soft to react. And then when it's soft, it starts to like wobble around to one side. And they also had a really narrow pin width, which made it even worse. So because the car handled in a way, they had to run diff oils in the tool drive. Some people ran, I believe, Bayer and Coelho, like the top guys of X-Ray. This was like, I guess, 2018, 2019, probably 2020. They ran 200K in the tool drive on carpet, which it's absolutely crazy. So effectively, I think they started to like have the idea of putting this diff into 10 scale because of that. They needed more drive, they needed locking on the power. So that is why they have it. And for carpet, for high grip, I'm quite confident that it works. And I've talked to a few X-Ray drivers and they liked it on the four-wheel drive when they tried it. I haven't heard anything from a two-wheel drive, but I expect they use it on high grip. So yeah, on 8 scale, it didn't really go through. There was Fioroni, I think, made one. Then Kyosho had a different style of one, but they had it. TLR even came out with one, which was it was a different design. It was quite interesting. You had springs, so you had some preload. But the issue with that one was that it was made out of aluminum and it wore out, basically. It wore out really quickly, and then it was like really expensive parts. So it was like, I think it was $100 a piece, like the diff. So it was too expensive just to maintain. So this is not like a new thing in RC, and it has actually first been done in 8 scale, and then this is like the thing in 10 scale now, like the first try. Like now they're finally trying it in 10 scale.
Were these called torsion diffs?
Yeah, so that's actually an inaccurate name because torsion doesn't work this way. Torsion effectively is a gear ratio type of diff. So the way the gears are formed in a torsion diff is that it tries to always balance the amount of drive between the two diffs. Whereas the normal diff is that the power goes to the tire that has the least amount of grip. So the least force it needs to take. The torsion is that you have 50-50. And then this limited slip is that it opens when you have no drive and closes when you have drive. So I have a whole ass video on my channel about this, but so go check it out. Max Mert RC. So go check that out. I have a video about differentials. I go through all of this. I go very from the beginning to how it works. But effectively, you know, limited slip is like a diff that gets stiffer whilst on power. Then you have the torsion, which tries to balance the drive going out, and then, or rather the torque going out, and then the normal differential, which is the force tries to escape with the least resistance. So
Okay.
And in full-scale race cars, the limited slip differentials are almost always used. Like in road cars, there's lots of torsion diffs used because it's much smoother than a limited slip differential. But limited slip differential is on track much better because you just get more drive. The diffs we use in RC really. It does do some locking. It's not a free differential. It's like we use the viscosity of the oil to restrict the diff. So that's basically the way we do it, but it doesn't provide locking the same way as a actual limited slip differential. And if you're interested, you can go into my channel and watch the video where I go through it a bit more.
I will.
Depth.
I will go to your channel and I will watch your video and I will share it. All right, next up, Dallas Hoover. Do you think Techno will discontinue their 10-scale buggy and truck? I don't think so, because I think that Techno has done a really good job of using many parts from various kits to work on all their kits.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see, like, the reason why they came out with their new short course truck is that they still have a reason to keep like the whole platform, because effectively they get 3 cars out of 1. You know, they have the e-buggy, or no, the what you call it, e-truggy, I guess they call it, and then they have the
monster truck. That I have, and the short course truck that I have. Well, that I don't have, and the short course truck. So now they have 4.
4 actually, So they effectively get 4 platforms out of. Like they have the same arm mount.
I think they just used I think
different chassis, different arms. That's
so and I think even maybe that the monster truck and short course used, I don't know, but
I'm pretty sure the stadium. I'm pretty sure the stadium truck and the monster truck have same arms, but the short
not the stadium truck. I think the
e-truggy.
Right, but what I'm saying is those were easier to make because you had to make a chassis and just had to make a middle for arms. Everything else is pretty much, maybe with some finical things you had to do. So if the 4-wheel drive platform, I think they'll make it as long as people buy it. The 4-wheel drive 10 scale and the mini truggy. While I don't think that class is booming like it was, people still racing it, and they're the only ones making it. So as long as they don't have to like spend a bunch of money, that's what, that's smart. Like that's really smart if you ask me. Like to make a whole nother chassis, they've just done a really good job of that. Like,
I think what happened was this. So Techno used to have a lighter short course truck, kind of like what they have now. Then they went and used the parts from the 8-scale car on the short course truck. So they effectively shortened the arms, made different chassis, bumpers, all that stuff. But used a lot of the same parts, like I think hubs and all that were same diffs, I believe, as the 8-scale car. And they were like, okay, the short course class isn't that huge. We're just going to make the 8-scale buggy fit that class. Then they were like, hey, we want to branch out into the 10-scale market. There was even some things like, we're going to do a 4-wheel drive first, then we go into a 2-wheel drive. Tebow won the Reedy race. It went great. They had even lots going to the Worlds. Bornhorst was doing a lot of races. But then, I don't know if it was that Tebow said he doesn't want to race 10-scale, or if Techno was like, we aren't getting enough sales, or if it was that they were scared that the car wasn't going to work on carpet and didn't want to put that much time and effort into it. Whatever the reason was, they kind of gave up on it. They just let the 10-scale car be, which is really unfortunate in my opinion, because there was lots of nice ideas on the car that no one else has since then, done. But they were like, okay, we have this platform, and they were like the mini truggy class. They made that, And then they were like, hey, we have the mini truggy, we have the monster truck, and we have the molds for the 4-drive. Let's just update the short course truck and make it a light one. So now effectively they have 2 different choices for short course. I'm pretty sure they'll ditch the heavier one, and they just kind of made smart business moves, and that was the whole thing. I think it's pretty clear, and they're not going to discontinue their 4-drive, but they're just not going to be in the 10 scale game. You know,
I don't think they are.
The fact that they hire a guy who's a 2-time world champion in 10 scale and are like, hey, figure out your program, we don't give a shit, kind of. I think that tells enough that they aren't really interested in 10 scale, at least not at the moment.
No,
I think like when you look at Mayfield and his results, but also the fact that he hasn't raced much 10 scale in the past 2 years, I don't see Mayfield getting back into 10 scale as hard as he used to be. And I don't see Techno hiring guys to do that as long as they have a guy like Mayfield. I don't see in the next, let's say 3 years, 5 years, maybe, I don't see Techno getting back to 10 scale.
Yeah. And the amount of R&D and all that stuff to get into that now.
And the thing is, like, you effectively have to design not only a 2-wheel drive and a 4-wheel drive, but
2 2-wheel drives,
two 2-wheel drives, and nowadays 2 4-wheel drives, because you have to make them both work on carpet and on dirt. So
that's a lot of parts.
It's a lot of parts. It's a lot of testing, and if your car isn't good, you're not going to have any sales. So
and they would have to start from scratch, especially on a 2-wheel drive.
Yeah, and you can look at S-Works, like they have a huge. Let's not exaggerate, but they have a substantial market size in 8 scale. But in 10 scale, they're almost nowhere to be seen. Like, yeah, they are pushing themselves out there, but I bet they don't sell many cars.
But
they have a few. They are developing, much. But the thing is, like, they have been developing that 4-wheel drive since Martin Wolanka was their number 1 driver. You know? And some people probably don't even know who he is, but he used to be the number 1 driver when S-Work was picking up the game. This was in 2020, 2019, before COVID, basically. Martin Wolanka was the number 1 driver, and that's when they started developing their 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive platforms. They came out with the 4-wheel drive while Martin was still on the team, and then they kept developing the 2-wheel drive, and they came out with it a year ago or so, and now they came out with fresh 2 new models for the Worlds. But the thing is, they aren't a big player, and it has taken them, obviously COVID probably hurt them a bit, but it has taken them a long time.
They probably just saw that the risk for the money versus the time and effort to put that in and develop, then you have to have drivers to develop, then you have to send these drivers to races to develop. It's just so much money, and they probably just said, no, we'll just stick to this.
Yeah, that's probably what Techno did, and to be honest, like,
I don't blame them.
The 10 scale market isn't like 8 scale market is that you can, like, people who race 8 scale spend a lot of money on it, you know. Like 10 scale, the 2-wheel drive kit cost less than half than an 8 scale kit, you know.
It might have gone up some though, Max, though.
It might have gone up, but it's still probably less than half of an 8 scale kit, and the amount of R&D is the same. Yes, the manufacturing costs aren't the same, but the biggest thing that is going to cost when you develop a new platform is the time and the effort you have to put into it.
I would say that also maybe a 10 scale car lasts a little longer than an 8 scale car because of the type of tracks that you're running it on. Not as
yeah, I'd say that too. Definitely parts costs are a lot lower in 10 scale. 100% true. Like, how many 10 scale chassis do you go through?
Exactly.
Yeah. In the 8 scale, you go at least 2, most likely 3.
At $95 a pop.
Yeah. So that only that part is like a big thing.
All right, let's move on. Connie Svensson, could indoor carpet racing be something for 8 scale e-buggy during winter time? Yeah, sure, why not?
One issue I have to say exists is that they do produce quite a bit of noise. a lot more than 10 scale. And then the jumps you have to make, they have to be a lot more, sturdy. And the track size needs to be slightly bigger. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I bet it is going to happen. But I'm going to say it does take a lot more effort, and people are not going to be like excited about it. It's like, I don't think it's going to be that much fun, to be honest.
We have a question.
It can be in the future.
Okay. Paul McDowell. I'm torn between the Agama N1 and the Mayako MX-8 as my new car for the summer season. I currently run the A13, the Agama 13. As far as Max is aware, for what tuning advantages has the Mayako got over the Agama? They may have to do a little. Let's see. It says, excuse me. Woo.
I think he said I have to do some homework, and just to make sure that, because he said I have to do some homework, I did and look at the Agama. I did look at it much before, and I know about the N1, but I did go and look again. Didn't find anything there. And I'm
so just real quick. I want to finish the question because he runs at Hearts and it's an oil track.
Okay, but there's lots of.
My uncle just won there this past weekend. I think, or last weekend.
Okay, so I have to say this: I do run a Mayako. I'm a factory driver sponsored by Mayako, so I have to say that. So I obviously will tell you to buy a Mayako. Okay, but now to the part where I'll try to be as objective as I can. If your question was about tuning ability, and 100%, I have to say, like, even as objective as I can be, Mayako is far superior in this front. You have, especially if you decide to join as a member, you have options to parts that, you can tune your rear shock. There's plenty of different rear shock towers, different link adjustments, and you don't have to buy different parts for these adjustments most of the times. For example, right now it's members only, the 3-piece rear hub, which you can tune with shims into any direction you want. You can tune the offset from the hub, and you have an arm which has the length adjustment. So you can keep everything same, tune the hub, and tune the axle. Axle height is separate on the hub with insets. So you have effectively offset change, link change to whichever direction, and axle change, all independent changes. Okay, so that's one great thing. I suggested this to Joseph, the rear link adjustment. He didn't do what I wished him to do, but this hub is a great one for if you're looking for adjustability. Okay, it's members only right now. So if you're not looking into going to a member, this doesn't really affect you. But one great feature that currently, actually X-Ray does offer this, but I think Mayako does it where it offers more, is the diff adjustment. So the way Mayako has done it is there is the diff case sits on the chassis, or you can shim it up or down with shims. Now, how you adjust everything else to counteract that raising of the diff box is you have insets on the arm holders and the shock tower. So effectively, you have 3 different positions of the shock tower, 3 different positions of the arm holders, and then you obviously have the normal insets within the hingeman holders. And then you can, within those steps, you can also tune the diff height. So you can find your sweet spot there. Both front and rear has the same adjustments. On top of this, there are also a lot different stiffening options for the radio tray. So you have long radio tray holder, motor mount. You can tune the stiffness of the car. That's about, okay. I almost forgot about the most interesting one, which is the front end. You are able to have effectively what people might refer to as the pivot ball suspension. So a geometry which has a lot of kingpin inclination. So you have an inclined kingpin angle, which means when you turn the tires, the front tires are pushed downwards every time you turn the wheel, and also it affects the angle of the tire. So the outside tire angles outwards, inside tire angles inwards, and also it affects the scrub radius. You can go watch Joseph's videos about this stuff. He explains what actually happens. But you have that option, which is most people refer to it as the pivot ball front end. Although the benefit of being done in a C-hub car is that you can tune the link independently. So you have a geometry as of a pivot ball front end, but you can still tune the link, the knuckle height, and so on. And then you have the option for the standard C-hub style front end, which the Agama has. It's a little bit different than Mayako. We have longer arms, but essentially similar style where you have zero inclination and you can tune the knuckle up, down, basic stuff. Okay, so that's about the Mayako. The tunability of the car, I have to say, it's like there isn't a car on the market which offers the same. Yes, X-Ray offers you the C-hub front end and the pillow ball front end. But to be honest, you have to buy the completely different front ends. And then what they don't do is they don't offer anything in the rear end. The whole rear end is based on the front end being a pivot ball car, and they don't take into account that trying to make it work for a C-hub. Okay, so the X-Ray is the closest on tunability, but even them don't get really close, to be honest. Agama, on the other hand, the N1, I'd say the tunability of the car is a bit lacking when you compare it to something like Mayako, which has been one of the biggest things in designing that car. So the Agama N1 doesn't offer, as far as I know, it doesn't offer diff height adjustment. As far as I know, it's a few different chassis stiffness I saw, but not too big, not like where you can actually consistently tune the flex of the chassis. On hubs, they have quite standard hubs on the rear, and then they have just a regular zero incline C-hub in the front, so no tunability there. The arms and the arm height, anti-squat angles, those are very similar to Mayako. You can tune those, but you don't have the ability to raise up the diff or locate them differently. So tunability in the Agama is pretty much, it's not different from the car you have now. If you have the A319 or whatever you said you had, the older model of the Agama. Now, I have to say this. If you are interested in testing yourself and trying to make a new concept work, that is something that N1 has that Mayako really doesn't offer. Because Mayako is a very, very regular car, but it has taken into account things and combined things that other manufacturers haven't really done. Effectively, Mayako is a work of, Joseph trying to find the best things of an 8-scale car and then putting it together on this car. And then finding tunability, absolutely find the limit for the car to work. The N1 is a different approach. It's trying something completely new, which is reducing your reducing your leverage on the shock. So you reduce leverage in the shock, introduce shorter shocks, place them sideways in the car by using these arms effectively on the arm. So shock arm on the suspension arm. And this way you can place the shock sideways without affecting the angle of it. But what they have done, though, is reduce the shock length, which means they have reduced the leverage of the shock too. So you have to run stiffer springs, different pistons, all of that stuff. So that's going to be something they will struggle during the first years of this car, trying to find the perfect suit for that. And also, like there will be some like different things, like the steering rack is quite different, like finding how that will work for them best. That's going to be something. But effectively, they have quite of a standard car, which have been, which they have implemented this. Let's say, well, I'm not going to say new because this has obviously been done before, but different from the current market, trying to make something, effectively trying to find a way to make this centered mass with lower center of gravity have more benefit than the reduction in leverage of the shock and function of the shock, how it works. So that's basically what they're trying to do. And if you're interested in that, the N1 is something that the Mayako doesn't offer. But if you're, like you asked about the tunability, the Mayako absolutely is much better.
Also, he already drives Agama, so he would know about the support from the Agama team, which John seems to do a really good job of. So
yeah, if you're in the UK, definitely Agama is quite good support. But yeah, on if you are interested in testing and talking about people with testing, the Mayako Discord is something I don't see other brands offering right now. So like, here's the thing, Keenan. Every time you ask me a question where I have to be objective, I have to go the long route. I don't know how to be objective when
I know we have like a few more questions to go here, and you just went like 10 minutes on that one.
Yeah, talking short and objective is hard.
You wasn't. I looked. I didn't zone out. I've listened to everything you said.
Yeah.
Usually I zone out.
Like when I can just say my opinion, I can just cut corners and say it. But when I have to be like, okay, I have to make sure I take everything into account, it takes long. Okay, next one I'll be quick. Okay.
This is from Carl Nadfalusi. I butchered that. Is Techno bringing new 10th buggies? We said we don't think so. Also, what does Max think of the new Schumacher chassis and four-wheel drive racing it on outdoor dirt? Don't be long.
Did they change much? I don't think they changed much. They made like a new chassis where the rear end is narrower. Like that. That's great. It's not like
that's great.
Yeah, it's not like amazing or revolutionary. It's not going to change much. I think the biggest benefit is just you have cleaner air throughout the rear of the body, so you get more like air to the wing and around the tires. So probably jumps a bit better, and it's just more. How would you say it? More slippery through the air. Apart from that, I didn't see much difference. Okay. I don't know. They might have improved like a motor mount, side guards or something. But to be honest, like same car. And
he wants to know about outdoor dirt racing on it.
Outdoor dirt racing, definitely not the best for this car, but it is a good car. And I do believe that it can be as good, perhaps even better than some of the other brands. I think the Schumacher four-wheel drive is really good. On carpet, it's really, really good. But on dirt, I believe it's still, can be can be really good. So it might just take a little bit more effort, UK people don't generally race on dirt that much.
Okay. Michael Cook, on two-wheel drive, be it carpet, be it buggy, short course, or stadium, what does going up or down on diff fluid do, and when do I want to make changes? The short answer, Max.
Yeah, this is actually good because I talked about the diffs already. So effectively, on a two-wheel drive car, the thing is that if you want to maintain rear grip, you have to kind of turn the car around the rear. So the front ends turn and the rear ends stick to the ground. Especially like if you look at on carpet, the front tires are narrow as hell and the rear tires are wide. So when you turn the car that way that the both rear tires effectively stay on the ground, the outside tire will have to turn much faster. Okay, so this is sort of the base, what I'm going to say next. So to make that happen, to move the outside tire faster, make the car rotate better, you have to run the soft diff, because then the differential won't resist the fact that the outer tire moves faster than the inner tire. Okay, so soft diff, more rotation. Then the issue, however, is that when you go out of the corner, you do want a lot of drive. And when you go on power, if the weight is on the outer tire, you're going to have the inside tire balloon quite a bit. Okay, so effectively what you're doing is soft diff, really good steering on entry. You might have issues getting out of the corner. Stiff diff, you're going to have less rotation on entry and mid corner, but then once you go on power, you're going to have the car accelerate really fast out of the corner. So you have to find a balance here. You have to find a balance where you have enough steering and enough rotation where the car doesn't really stall mid corner, but then you still have you have stiff enough diff while once you go on power, you get out of the corner fast. So that's effectively what you do in tool drive. In four drive, it's quite the same, but there you have, front diff and rear diff, and then even middle diff the center diff can affect it a bit. So you can play with all of those three, but in tool drive, it's kind of simple because it's only the rear diff. And if you're running on dirt, in general, it's better let's say if you're running on dirt and you're running a ball diff, in general, when it's really low grip, it's better to run a stiffer diff. This is because of the fact that even the ball diff has the effect of the inside tire keeps ballooning. So when it's really low grip, once you go on power, you might have this like twitch on the car, But that's why often it's better to just have the rear tires like both rotate similarly. So you have a stiff diff, the rear end doesn't do anything surprising.
Yeah, I figured your camera was going to go off. 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 11 minutes. All right. I think that's it for that question then?
Yeah. The camera died like the specific time I stopped speaking. But basically that's how it works. With the ball diff, there are more stuff to it, like friction and all kind of stuff. But with gear diff, it's pretty simple. Stiffer diff, more exit, softer diff, more rotation.
Okay. All right. So our next question is from Kevin Hobart. He wants to know, I'm trying to get my daughter into racing. Do you think an AEB 6.2 could still do well, even though it's a few generations behind? I think that if this is her first attempt at racing and you have parts for it, yeah, she isn't going to notice the difference, man. Let her go out there and beat that up and figure it out. And if she likes it and she's doing better with it, then you can upgrade. That's what I would say.
Yeah, basically the 6.2, actually, I think 6.2 already has the new arm. So 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4, they are effectively the same car. The 6.4 has a new chassis, new side guards, a new steering holder, new steering hubs and knuckles. But if you go online and look at any of the top A driver setups, everyone uses the B 6.3 hubs and knuckles and the steering rack. So, and that is the same as the B 6.2. So the thing I'd suggest is buy the 6.2 if you have it, or use it if you have it. And then if someday you want to upgrade the car, you just buy the new chassis and side cuts of the B4 or B6.4, and then you are basically onto the new car. So yeah, my suggestion is go with the. I mean, I have a 6.2. I still race it, so yeah, definitely use that one.
Okay. So our last question here, Max. Well, we have two more, but this is one that we're going to kind of answer already. But Christensen, Adam, what does Max thinks of track fixing during a race, inverted shocks? Do you want to save this? Is this in your notes for last? Or do
we do the inverted shocks at the end, but I'll do the track fixing.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
The track fixing thing, after each day, fine.
I think that's actually, let's say DNC, I'd like to see them do it. But between rounds or during a day, definitely not. I don't think it's like in main day, like before a main, I could see an argument for that before a main it's fine. I mean, they do that on Supercross, like they fix the track for the main. I don't see that being an issue before the main. To be honest, yeah, I don't see any issue doing it in the mains. But in qualifying, absolutely not. After today, fine for me.
Okay.
Just make it fair for everyone. Don't make changes when it might affect, it might affect something like in a round basis. Because the thing is, like in any, like if you leave it bumpy, it's going to benefit someone. If you make it flat, it's going to benefit someone. Just make it out that you say in like the race entry or the driver's meeting or whatever, just say that you are going to do this fixing. Don't be like, oh, I'm not going to fix the track. And then like just before the main starts, you're there out with your tractor. And then people are like, what the fuck? Like I set up my car for a really bumpy track. Don't do that. But make it clear when you're going to do it and if you're going to do it or if you're not going to do it. And I suggest do it after each day. Yeah, those are the things. I'm done with this question now. You can go.
Okay. We got two more questions. We're going to be quick about them. This is from our Discord, hashtag 53Dom. I think this is Miklos. In the UK, I've noticed there are all sorts of sports being adapted for casual audience for social/team building outings. Examples like you can play cricket, darts, pool, sim racing, and other activities in a casual environment where you play the game for your paid session and go home. There's also obviously karting that you do and arrive and drive where you pay for your session and go home. Do you think RC, arrive and drive venue for casual team building use would be successful if it was marketed properly, also catered to for owner drivers?
We have this in Finland. This company called Hobby Factory, which I have worked for before. They offer rental cars. They have Arma 4x4 short course trucks, and their hobby shop is in the same building as the Full Speed RC Club, which is situated in Vantaa in Finland. So people can come in the store and then they can be like, hey, I want to rent a car. They pay, I think it was $20 per car per hour. And they take the car, go out on they have a specific beginner's track there, which they can drive on. And then what they do is they organize a lot of birthday parties and also like company events. So what they do is they sell a package for like, I don't know how much it is, probably like a few hundred euros. And you get like people there. Usually I actually did one birthday party myself. There was like, I think 8 kids. They drove there with the cars. We had like qualifying, and then we had like 3 mains or 2 mains, whatever. And the kids had a blast, all of them. So it definitely works. I believe they have, like what I last talked with them, it was successful business-wise as well. So it's not just for marketing or whatever, but business-wise, it does make profit, is what I'm understood. It does take a lot of effort to keep these cars. They are under a lot of use, like the tires, the bodies, they break once in a while. And what they had done, they use like 2 2S batteries, but they plug it with a loop. So effectively you have, double the milliamps. That's why they can run a full hour with those. And the Arma cars are good because you can limit the power, so they don't trash them. But it 100% works, and people should definitely do it. But one thing I have to say, it does require hobby track. Not you can't do it on let's say hobby action. Definitely doesn't work there.
I think many shops do. I know Beach RC does this. They do like a slash rental. They market it to hotels because they're right there in Myrtle Beach. I know lots of tracks that do this. The issue is like you can. I don't. It's an RC so small that all that stuff like to make a business solely dedicated to that. Maybe putting it in a space where people are gonna be able to come to it is probably expensive.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's never gonna work if your only thing you do is that. The best thing you can do is have a club there. So you have, let's say, a hobby action would clear out some pit space, make a smaller track. Just that you can run a slash on. Fun enough that it's fun for people who don't know RC, but small enough where it doesn't take that much space. And then they had a hobby shop in the same building which sold, let's say, Traxxas cars or Arma cars. So the people because oftentimes when people go out there and rent the car, after, let's say, once or twice, they're like, let's just buy one, So that's also good for selling. So it's definitely, you should have a hobby shop. You should have a track. So you have the facility already, but then you have the section where there's the beginners.
Do you think we could see this as a I can go and get a high-end race car, rent that and go race? Or is it just that? Because they have kind of like at these go-kart tracks, I know they have leagues where you race in those cars and all that stuff because they're all equal. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it like the high-end stuff would work.
High-end stuff, yeah. We actually
RC's too. There's no consequences if you crash.
Yeah,
you don't get hurt. So people are gonna be sending that stuff. That stuff's gonna be breaking. I think the maintenance will be too much. I think RC still requires you to have some mechanical skill.
Yeah, that's we actually discussed this same thing. Like we were planning, like what if we do a rental race car? Like someone's gonna like fix it between races and then someone's gonna pay amount of money to race it for the weekend. But it was just like it was way too expensive to rent. Because the thing is, like, if you're gonna have to rent shit between each race, it's gonna take some work hours, and
you gotta pay somebody for that.
You have to pay someone for that. So effectively, that price is too much for someone running the car, and then the risk of something breaking and all that. It just doesn't make sense in business.
What I do think that it is a great addition to an already an RC facility, or if you're going to open up an RC facility, and it's great for marketing and it's an addition, but to survive off it will be very hard.
Yeah, I think for something like a slash or something, that's 100%. Like if you go to a go-kart track, that's not a real go-kart. That's like a rental go-kart is usually just like some cheap one that just lost.
Yeah, I remember I went to one go-kart rental, dude. That thing was fast. I don't know what a good go-kart is. All right, we got one more question. That's from your good friend and our good friend, Roach RC. If gas trucks came back thanks to Ignite RC, because my DMs are always open. Thank you to Ignite RC for all their support. Do you think it would replace bruggies due to being more unique than the big boy buggies we have? No, personally, I think they would work as a great entry-level nitro class, but I know nothing about nitro. So what's up, kid? How you doing? Check out Roach RC on YouTube. It's a great channel. He does very good work. I like his channel. Gas truck was actually what you started out with, and it was actually more popular than nitro buggy. It's not an easy thing to drive. It was never easy to drive, and that's what people liked about it. Then the truggies came along. They were easy to drive. Buggies came along. Then people got into that because they're easy to drive and everybody could drive them. And then gas truck became a side thing. So it was like, it was always nitro buggy, gas truck. But then somebody said, hey, we can put some slightly bigger tires and like a truck looking body on this buggy, and we can make a truck. And so eventually, and then monster truck was also popular, but that was a separate class. So eventually what gas truck used to be was that second class. but at one point it was also the beginner class because it was cheaper and all that type of stuff. But they were incredible. These like, if you can drive a gas truck good, you're gonna drive other things good. It's also good for that, but it's hard to drive. And I think nowadays with the instant gratification mentality of most people, and you get that, that's why people like truggy, right? That's why people like truggy and e-truggy. It's that instant gratification. Like, I'm fast, I can do this, I can put this anywhere. When you give them a buggy, it's a little, they got to learn that. So I as much as I like gas truck, and I have 4 of them. You see one up there, back there, and hopefully I'll get an Ignite one at some point. I don't see it ever coming back to that level. I think it's always going to be a niche level, and I don't even think that a lot of these people would be able to drive, because like, you got a truck and it's like you can do that. With a gas truck, it's all about this, and it's very hard to drive.
I have never driven a gas truck. I have barely driven a stadium truck. So I would like to see what that's like. The biggest issue I have, but the biggest issue I see with this class is 8-scale tracks these days have huge jumps. They are, in size, they are much bigger than they used to be. And especially in Europe, it's like, there would be no sense in driving a stadium truck around tracks like that, like the sizes of the bumps and how like abrasive the surface is. Like, it's just going to destroy the stadium truck. So that's definitely one issue. American tracks have 2 big jumps. European tracks are just too abrasive. And then one issue is there's no, like, if we would then choose to go to 10-scale tracks, outdoor 10-scale doesn't exist. There is an outdoor 10-scale. So that is those.
There
those
is,
two
but very
things,
few and far between.
Well, yeah, but it's like, tell me a big outdoor 10-scale race doesn't exist. So those are the biggest issues with the class. In somewhere like Australia, where 10-scale in outdoors is still huge.
Maybe
I don't know, maybe not huge, but it's still big. And then also, they race on oil tracks, which
they also have a track with
jump.
this special. They also have a 10-scale track in Australia that has that permanent sealed type of BMX style surface too.
Yeah. So Australia has, for some reason, sort of got this. I think it's partly due to weather and partly due to the type of dirt they have, but they have quite actually optimal circumstances for this class, because they have smooth tracks, they don't have crazy jumps, and they have somewhat alive outdoor 10-scale scene. So you can race the gas trucks on the 10-scale tracks, or you can race on the smoother 8-scale tracks. So your tracks, the stadium track is actually fun to drive, or the gas truck is fun to drive. In Europe and America, I just don't see that happening really. That's
well, actually. So, not to say about Australia, a lot of the like Zach Ryan and Panic and all that guys, they got these Ignite design
I know.
RC conversions, and they love them. And if you guys want a gas truck, there's a link in the written description for Ignite Design RC. Check out Jimmy Wood. He's awesome dude, and he's keeping the gas truck dream alive. And they actually have a series. They do race 10-scale outdoors. It's in Florida where they race.
Yeah, in Florida. In Florida they do, but that's very regional.
Not. Yeah. Right. So, but we're talking about maybe 10 trucks. So, unfortunately, people just truggy is here to stay, and e-trug is growing. So, and unfortunately, we're not going to see gas truck come back.
I think, to be honest, though, if there was a time when gas truck would be revived, it would be now, for 2 reasons. One is that truggy is kind of pointless right now. It's effectively really, if you look at the bodies, J Concepts came out with the silencer. It's the same fucking body that's on the buggy. Okay, there's no difference. It's just fucking longer and a bit wider on the cap. Okay, so that's already okay. It looks like a buggy. Then when you look at the design side, Tekno is the only brand who has put any effort into designing a truggy. Every other brand has, all they have done, longer arms, longer chassis, new turnbuckles, drive shafts, and change the gear ratio. Oh yeah, bigger tank. So basically all they've done is just adjusted the car, like stretched it out in some places to make it fit into the truggy class. No consideration of how it works, no R&D whatsoever. So it's like no one wants to do it, but it sells. So that's
Max,
that's
unfortunately,
like
it's not going anywhere. And I'll be honest with you, there's these buggy bodies. It's when you go out there and you first look, you have to look twice to make sure it's not a buggy. That's how close it's getting.
That's my thing. Like, there is absolutely nothing apart from the fact that it's bigger than a buggy. You know, like it's just a bigger buggy with big tires that are more expensive. It's a more expensive, little bit easier to drive buggy, and that's
still like it.
I don't like it anymore. Like
you never liked it. Never liked it.
I never liked truggy, but I could see its point when it was like a completely different looking car.
Right. You know what? That is enough. We have
I want gas trucks back.
But they're not coming back.
Well, I want them back.
I want $3 million right now.
Yeah.
All right. That was a lot of questions, Max. We are going to stop asking. There's no more questions. Thank you, everybody who sent in questions. We've been geeking out for 2.5 hours. We're going to go over and talk to... Yes.
Which engines does gas truck use? They use smaller ones,
12s.
Right? What?
0.12s.
Who sells them anymore?
SH. OS has some. What they're using is some on-road engines. Pico has one. I have a Pico in my...
So they use they just use like 1/10 on-road engine?
Yeah, and then that's got a Pico on-road engine in it. It's fast.
Yeah, the on-road engines are crazy.
OS has a couple too. But the SH ones seem to be the more popular, the also a good price. So hopefully I have one. Max, we're gonna go on to talk to Will. I don't know if you're at this moment. I don't know if you're gonna be there with me, but you probably ain't. So we're gonna go to Will. We're gonna do a recap of the MKGP. We're coming back, and then we're gonna wrap this up. All right. With that said,
yeah, man.
Thank you to Techno RC for all the support, and they bring you this week's main interview.
Techno RC. Techno RC. Techno RC is a premium manufacturer specializing in 8th and 10th scale high-performance off-road RC buggies and trucks. Visit www.technorc.com for a complete catalog of their products. Techno RC. Excellence in engineering. Hashtag Techno Takeover.
What's going on, Will? How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. I think I'm pretty much almost recovered from MK, so
pretty
race. Good.
Great race.
Yeah, amazing race.
You sent me a picture. You was up on a balcony having a beer, I think. Was that like a restaurant right above where you could watch the race from?
Yeah, so like the first day I was kind of being a little bit, because I can work from home or anywhere with a laptop, I went there a little bit early so I could get my pit spot mainly. But I have a cafe up there which has basically a perfect view of the track. So I went up there, had a coffee and a bit of a sandwich while the guys were sort of preparing the track. So a bit of a win-win, to be fair.
All right, cool. Well, in case you guys didn't know who this is Will Venables, aka Briefcase. He joined Max and myself earlier on this year for a recap of the EOS Dawn race in Germany. He's an avid racer in the UK. I met Will when he was about 15 back in the day when I was racing in the UK. He goes to a lot of these races in Europe. He goes to a lot of EOS races, and I know he went to the MKGP, so I thought I'll have him come up here to talk a little bit about this race. Now, for our listeners that may not know what the MKGP is, it's called the British GP as well. It is the Milton Keynes GP, British GP. It's held in Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes is a town in the UK. I've been there. I've been through there before. It's, as Nick Damon says, it's part of the carbon triangle or something, carbon fiber triangle. Lots of F1 teams around there, apparently, in that Milton Keynes area. So this race takes place in the middle of, is it their biggest mall or a very busy mall that they have there?
Yeah, it's a pretty big shopping center, mall, whatever you want to call it in the UK. So like they kind of have this spot where they sort of have community events every year. And for what I understand, the Club Silverstone that run MKGP and so on, they managed to sort of snag a space there, and they've sort of ran events there for the last few years. So luckily now after COVID, they're back. And yeah, we had the MKGP last week.
Right. So this is actually run by another club, Silverstone, that you and I used to go. Well, when I was there, we used to go up there to race Tuesday nights. They're actually it's a veterinary college, university, right? A vet university or something like that, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. I think it's like it's a college for like if you're into the veterinary sort of thing.
But then, this is, you guys heard me tell you about the story where you roll the carpet out, you put on the hoses filled with like gravel and build a rostrum, and so this is this club. I think this is like the fourth one of these races, maybe the fourth one.
Yeah, it was the fourth. Well, they had a year where they couldn't have it in a shopping center, and they had it like in a hangar. So I guess
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess you could say as the event itself, I guess like the fourth edition of it.
I think when it first happened and it was in that mall, I thought it was great. I mean, I really wasn't freaking out of a 10 scale carpet at that time. I was, full on nitro. But as it's going on, this year it was a lot bigger. We had Broc coming over there and Cavalieri. It was full cover. I think RC Racing TV might have covered this race at one point, but we had great coverage. There was a lot of hype up around this race leading up to it. So I actually I didn't watch it all this past weekend. I watched a lot of the finals. I didn't really watch any of the qualifying because I was sick. And I remember turning on for A1 of two-wheel drive and just seeing all the people like just completely like on the back straightaway. And then you saw people in the wall walking around. I was like, wow, this is good for RC. And I just thought I always thought it was good for RC, an event in the mall with eyes that are non-RC eyes looking on it. Tell me a little bit about that. I heard that they go all out. Like, I was talking to Martin Owen, and he says they have an area where people can come up and learn about RC. They might have some test cars. I can't remember. Maybe you can let me know. I heard something about maybe they made all the A-main guys go out, or top guys do something as well. So tell me a little bit about that, if you know.
Yeah, I mean, over the event, I think it is great for the public. It's for everyone to see like what RC is about, because you see it on TV, or well, not TV, you see it on YouTube and Facebook, whatever. And I'm sure you just like, oh yeah, it looks okay. But then like when everyone sees it there, it's like, holy crap, like it looks really cool. So yeah, it was great. The fact like it was in front of everyone, and like the BRCA backed it, which I think was really good. So they flew over Scotty, which I think is one of the best people you could have to like sort of hype up the race, because he's there all day, with his voice, like talking about the race and making it feel exciting. But the BRC was there as well. They had like a small track there, so they were pushing the event really well. I think they even ran like a small competition, so someone in the public won like a Serpent ready to run. But like, which is good. Like anyone, to get even one person in is great. But I'm sure, obviously, hopefully after this, maybe more people. But then they had like actually one of my sponsors, DMS Racing. They were there as well. Like, so they were so I guess people could sort of see and what they could buy as well. So I think it was a really good event. It's like there's nothing else really like it, to be honest, especially like the competition there as well. Like, it's the best guys in the world. And obviously the mains were really, the mains were crazy and like super close. So I think it was...
Wow, four-wheel drive was...
four-wheel.
Four-wheel.
Four was off the hook. But even two-wheel, I'm sure we'll get into it later, but even when Neil, he came out of nowhere
We'll talk about that. Real quick, you said something. Max and I both agreed, because we did talk about this briefly in this podcast. Having Scotty there is great because he's an American voice. Like, so it's gonna go further. Like, everybody's speaking like in an English accent or whatever there. So you heard that American voice, and it's booming like all throughout there. So it's gonna attract even more people there. I don't know how close you were to the actual public, but did you see people like coming up asking questions? Did you see people answering questions? Were they allowed in the pits to come talk to you? How did that work?
I mean, you had to have a pass to come to the pits, but there were, there was fencing, but like everyone was like answering questions and talking to people. There were so many people just asking about, what we do. And it was really great seeing even a lot of the top guys just taking a few minutes just to talk to the public and telling them, what we do and answering whatever they asked. So it was really good.
It's like RC guys get to be like rock stars for a weekend because like you don't get to race in front of people like that. Non-RC people.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool feeling as well because like you have people watching, and I think if that's what sort of helps you like get some adrenaline or whatever, it's a really cool feeling like doing it in front of people. And like it was at least like 3-4 rows deep at points, so you can see like people were there, and actually I felt like they were staying there for a while when they were watching. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like a 2-minute thing and then they went. So, but yeah, I think Scotty there. I think especially he's so interview he uses his voice and he's really like out there and charismatic in a way. Like he's not just like just talking. He's like really like not shouting, but you know what I mean. He's doing what Scotty does best.
He's loud. He's loud.
Yeah,
he's amped up.
Exactly.
He's amped up. I like Scotty. So you said one thing I know. I always say that you Brits are very stickler for rules and tradition, but I have to say that the BRCA is probably the best federation in the world, even like just the proactive at getting youth, doing things like this, being a part of it. Martin told me that they bought that the streaming team was the BRCA team, apparently. So that did the stream. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. It was great, and I enjoyed it. I like that they use live RC scoring too, and not you guys. Like I really do not like you guys scoring the BBK whatever stuff that you have. Happy they used that. Thought that was great, but it's really good to see the federations being involved in a race that isn't necessarily a BRCA event. It's Silverstone. I know that it has to still be. It goes under the license and it goes under the insurance and all that stuff. The BRCA, but they're there, they send people there, and that's good to see. And that's what a good association, good federation should do. And they provided, like, help get Scotty over there or brought him over, and they got the coverage going. So they know this is important. And this is racing that, we heard that, 8-scale racing is too expensive and people can't do it. But 10-scale racing, while it is expensive, is much less expensive than 8-scale racing and very feasible for a passerby to pick up and get into, I think. So kudos to them. I really liked it. They really went all out this year. But let's talk about the racing because we did have 2 of the Americans come over here with the Schumacher camp. There's a lot of 10-scale racing going on. These guys also, some of them, not all of them, were racing each other on dirt probably a week and a half ago at the Desert Classic. And some of them prior to that were over white racing, maybe not too much. Well, Cavalieri were racing each other at the DNC. These guys were racing a lot of 10-scale as well because, I mean, if you go back to the Florida Carpet Championships, which was not even 6 months ago, was what, November? So, October, November, early November, I think. Early November. You had Kobovic, you had, the X-ray guys besides Coelho and all these guys racing against each other in Florida. Then, obviously, at the EOS race. But this is the next step. It looked good. It was good to see. But let's get on to qualifying. We're not going to talk about two-wheel drive, and we're going to talk about four-wheel drive. But, man, two-wheel drive got out there. It looked like Orlowski was going to be, on cruise control. He ran 1-2. He ran Q1, Q2. But then I have it in my notes here. Hold on. We saw Coelho take Q3, right? Then Q4, we saw Tommy Hall, the young Brit, current European champion, your teammate as well, team associated. He would take the win in Q4. And actually, the way the numbers worked out, this is the only one for 2. He was the only one that could challenge Orlowski the next day for the TQ. So we had some really exciting qualifying going on, 5 rounds of qualifying. So it came down to, I'm glad it came down to the 5th round because I hate when it's 3 and out unless it's my driver, and I love it. But I hate for the racing community when it's 3-0, but I like when the qualifying goes on to the last round and it's very interesting like this. What can you tell me about qualifying? Where did you qualify, Will, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, myself, I qualified C3, I think, in the end. I mean, so basically it was brand new carpet, and it was actually super low grip at the beginning. You would have never expected it. Like cars, like as soon as you're getting on power, or like swirling, and like the rear ends were coming out, it was crazy. So like all the practice and qualifying, like some people were even on ball diffs at points. So it was super challenging in the beginning. Like it wasn't sort of really till round 2-3 where the grip really came up, and then it was like, okay, this is like probably higher than EOS. But like in general, qualifying was pretty like it was pretty mental, because I mean Orlowski sort of straight out the box was pretty damn quick, and I think to be honest, I still think Tommy definitely had it in there to win in TQ. I think he just had some small mistakes just that cost him, but he had so much pace, and I really think, I really hope, and I think he will now, but he'll get more experience, and I think he will finally break into even bigger wins. But yeah, and then like people like Coelho, like he's hardly been doing any buggies since, because he's all been more into ETS and stuff, and he just came in Q3, another TQ, and I think because it's such long days and it's 3 rounds to count, I think there's so much pressure on trying to get those clean runs. And I don't know I'm sure these guys with the public, I don't know if that's extra pressure on them, if it makes them more nervous or whatever. But like, I feel like everyone was just out there just trying not to crash, and the track was really good. I really liked the track as well. I thought it was really fast and flowing. Little lack of jumps, but I don't know if that's more because of the shopping center thing, and they don't want us to have like massive jumps. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why. But I mean, to be fair to Orlowski, he stayed really clean and he kept his head, and that's sort of how qualifying went. But I definitely feel like it was between Coelho, Tommy, and Orlowski. They were like definitely the 3 in contention that I feel like had the pace from the beginning to win.
Oh yeah, I mean, even in the mains, you can see that Tommy was really fast in 2-wheel drive, and getting up on, and 4-wheel drive too, but more on 2-wheel drive. And I forgot to talk about the track too. I meant to mention that, I didn't put it in my notes, but I actually thought it was very English, like not too many jumps. I saw the same, like as you spoke of the carpet as well. We had blue carpet when we was at Silverstone, but I'm pretty sure that some of those hoses that were out there, I've helped lay out before at Silverstone too. And I thought it was a very UK-ish type of track. Not many big jumps. You had that jump in front of the driver's stand. That was Coelho had a big issue with that. He had a big issue with that jump. But yeah, probably not wanting cars to fly out into the public, stuff like that. Maybe keep it. Yeah, big jumps are nice, but this track actually made for good racing. So I enjoyed that. It was big. It was huge. There's mod motors got to open up their legs. But yeah, definitely didn't have any big, like whip it type of, you know what I mean? Like some of them big Huckett type of jumps that we have grown to love in off-road. But yeah, looks good. Was there a control tire?
Yeah, so it was the Schumacher tires. So Schumacher Cactus in the rear for 2 and 4-wheel drive. And then I think it was, you could choose between Fusion 1 or 2 for 4-wheel. And then just a normal like sort of cut stagger. So
are you guys allowed to, are you guys modifying these in any way, or allowed to, or what are you doing? Just
no, not basically, just sort of out of the packet and sort of just glue it just as
are you
really in straight on
as many as you want, or do you have a limit per day?
No, as many as you want. If you wanted to do a set of run, you could have, but I mean, even me, like I brought probably enough for maybe a set of run or so, but I only ended up actually using two sets. And even now in my car, I'm looking at it now on the floor, and they were happily, the fronts are untouched and the rear are just starting to wear a little bit. So
okay, so good life with the tires. And then the traction came up, so that meant you can see it, like you can see it in the track where the line, the groove came up and the rubber was getting on in the carpet, and it was probably making it better for you guys. And yeah, but let's go through qualifying. So we had Orlowski, Coelho, Hall, Lee Martin, 4th. If you would have told me that he would have been in 4th, Daniel Kobovic, the giant Viking Schumacher driver, Broc Champlin, Neil Craig. Now, did they have bump ups or did it was just 11 straight through to the main? No, they had 11 straight through to the main, right? Because it was 3
Yeah. No bump ups, but like 11 straight through into the main. So,
okay. Who is Josh Holdsworth?
Yeah, so Josh and his brother Luke, they're some pretty quick guys from the UK. So they've been racing for even before me, but they actually made, I think both of them made the USA final at Robin Hood last year. But yeah, they're some really fast youngsters here in the UK. So they're Schumacher guys. Okay. So they're sort of flying the flag for us. So they're really quick though, really quick guys.
Okay. Marcus Carup, who is super fast in four-wheel drive. We're talking about that. Jamie Hall and the veteran, Jorn Newman in 12th. Big surprise here. Ryan Cavalieri in 17th. What is going on with Ryan Cavalieri? Look, he arguably, let's be read up. Like Schumacher cars, that's like carpet. Come on. There's no excuse. What's going on with the Cav? 17th. He's not even in the run. He didn't even look. Let's look at his numbers here. He had a 23. Hold on. He had a 23. Where are you, Cavalieri? 17th. He had a 23, a 18, a 10, a 16, a 12. He didn't even, he had one top 10. I did not expect this from Cavalieri. Not on carpet, on dirt, but not on carpet.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us were pretty surprised, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, he just didn't look comfortable. And I do think the only credit I can give him is he did have some rough runs with traffic, and I did see it a little bit myself. But I mean, yeah, I guess just it didn't gel, and I guess it is what it is.
I just find out, we're in England, home of Schumacher, all these Schumacher guys around you, and you're in 17th. I don't know, Kev. Not looking good. Not looking good. Not looking good. All right, let's move on to where's my notes here? Who else was okay? Well, Pro Compton, Elliott Boots. He doesn't race. 25th. Will Venables right there. 25th in two-wheel drive, right behind Martin Beyer. So
there you go.
And then Kyle Moon, and then Luke Holdsworth right there. Oh, good stuff. All right. Four-wheel drive qualifying. So like Orlowski just like what? Like he won all 5 rounds. Like that's it. He won all 5 rounds. He was like, all right, so I didn't win everything in two-wheel drive. I'm going to dominate four-wheel drive. He went on to, Coelho, Carup, and Hall all got 2s. Carup ended up with 2s. But in the end, it was, where is four-wheel drive here? It was Orlowski, Coelho, Carup, Tommy Hall, Broc Champlin, Bartek Zalowski, who's very good Polish driver. He probably needs to get it done more on two-wheel drive. Daniel Kobovic, Johnny Skidmore. I think Johnny Skidmore. Now, I've said this before. If Coelho is her on the ladder of X-Ray, Skidmore isn't too far behind in Europe. I think he's doing well as an 8-scale driver. He made the world's main. He made the main at EOS Workshop, I think, as well.
I think he might have done it in both classes at Workshop.
Right. And now making the A main her at the EOS. The only, I think like Johnny Skidmore is on his way, or is like, he's knocking on the door of like being a pro driver. I think like where he could be doing this for a living, or maybe like a Neil Craig type of thing. It's probably like a Neil Craig now, I would say. So I give him some credit there. Misha Widmeyer, the sole S-Works guy. Misha's been putting a lot of work for the S-Works. Neil Craig in 10th, Jamie Hall 11th. And let's see where Cavalieri is. Oof. Lee Martin in 20th. Ooh, wow. I didn't expect that. I'm still going looking for Cavalieri here. Will. No, I must have missed him. Oh, he was in 26. I don't know, man. That's not good. All right, so Cavalier's out of the equation. Not in the mains. Broc's the only American in there. But still, Broc's not lighting it on fire like it was at Dawn. What was up with Broc? What did you notice about him?
I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, he seemed, He definitely didn't have the dominance he did at EOS. I don't know if it was the carpet, I think with everyone trying to get to grips from the beginning and then getting in there, if it's because it was a lot tighter track compared to EOS. There could be many things. I mean, he didn't seem. I think in some of the mains, he was starting to get up there in grid positions, but I think he just had some mistakes, and that's sort of really what cost him. I don't personally think he had the pace to win, but I mean, he's still there and thereabouts. I think he was top 5 maybe in the end. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, I think about the problem with the MK is especially this time round, it was no one could really prepare for how it's going to be, especially with a carpet, and I can't emphasize that enough. So everyone was learning from Q1 to the end, even before wheel. The track was still evolving, which is crazy for carpet, because normally carpet is you just lay it down and that's it. But it was really different, and even for us Brits, it was quite a different. It was way higher grip than, at least in my opinion, than EOS.
Mm-hmm.
So it was crazy.
What type of carpet is this that they're using then?
So best way to describe it is like an office carpet. It's got the small loops in it, and it's really dense. So I don't know if it was because the rubber got laid down, the grip came up, or if the fibers started to loosen up, and maybe there was a bit more surface area for the pins to grip into. So no one's really done it before, but kudos to the Silverstone Club. I think it definitely was great towards the end. I think everyone's a bit surprised at the beginning, but I mean, oh man, it was really fun to drive on, to be honest. I'm really looking forward to the Silverstone. They have a winter series here in the UK. I'm really looking forward to it at the end of this year, because I'll definitely be back on that stuff again.
Sweet. So Silverstone doesn't use this type of carpet on a regular then, I take it?
No, it was literally the first time they didn't even do a race or club meeting with this carpet, just to keep it fair for everyone, which to be honest was actually quite good for everyone.
All right. Well, here we go. This is Raceway 1. I was watching some of their coverage as well. They actually didn't do the stream, but they did their videos and their coverage. And that's how I actually caught all up. You can check them out at raceway1.com or check them out on Facebook. Good friends of Will. He's worked with them before. I really love this guy's commentating. He does a really good job. Sounds like cricket. This is the start of A1. We're going to watch it while we talk about it, because Bruno makes an excellent move at the start here. Let's see. Is Scotty talking? Oh, no, we can't even hear it. You could just about see. Yeah, Bruno makes that move right there. And I was just like, whoa, Bruno is good. He's going to kill it. He's going to kill it. So he gets out to this lead, and you're thinking, all right, it's going to be Bruno. But Orlowski's right behind him. That was a sneaky move by Coelho, I would say. Caught Orlowski sleeping right there. What do you think about it, Will? Oh, you're watching the race.
Yeah. I'm watching. It's actually a little bit slow on my end. But, it was a pretty fair pass, to be honest. There was a gap, and he took it. And I think, I noticed especially on carpet, it's just sometimes you just got to take that, to take whatever you can. I definitely think a lot of the younger guys, they do it a little bit too literally, and it ends up in a lot of takeouts or whatever. But Bruno, he's definitely cleaned up his driving in the last, he's always been a pretty good driver. Maybe when he won his first Worlds, he was a little bit controversial, but especially recently, he's been a really fair driver, and he took that move pretty well.
Yeah, he's made I remember when I had him on the podcast, it's he made a conscious effort to improve that and not be, obviously we had JQ had the CFT and all that stuff. Not CFT, CTO, sorry. But yeah, this is where he makes his first mistake. This was Coelho's issue the whole entire race. He was just making these the whole entire event that I saw, all the mains. He would be so fast, he'd make these little mistakes, get back up, and then make another mistake. Or, and recoup and end up in a podium position. So he made a mistake there, and then he actually makes a mistake there again later on. He actually collected Tommy Hall in that one, but Tommy was able to Bruno was able to be in second, and also Tommy staying third. But you see, coming right behind them there, that third orange car, it like a jaguar stalking its prey, is the wily veteran and part-time racer and your teammate, Neil Craig. Isn't he like a multi-European champion and stuff like that too? Something like that.
Yeah, he's I think it was 2005
I think he's a world
world
champion too, right?
He is
Yeah.
a world champion and like multiple like European champion. We joke about it in the group. I mean, he's literally basically the GOAT, like here in the UK. Like you can't really say otherwise.
Yeah, Coelho, as Scotty would say about JQ, Coelho crumpled like a week-old biscuit just now. Made another mistake, lost it. Neil Craig still there in third, and there we have Arlovski. Just kind of looks like he's in cruise control, like he's going to take this and not be a problem. You know, like, yeah, I'm out to win it. Then they go like this for a few laps, and you'll see what happens here if you're watching this. But great A1. Well, you got to watch it to the end. It's really good. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Neil Craig. Part-time racer, always been a part-time racer. He's like 30. He's got to be close to 40 now, I guess, in the late 30s, I would say. But he's just there. Like in this is a perfect example of, in my opinion, racecraft and just being in the right position at the right time. Like obviously being in the right position at the right time to get that lead, but showing the racecraft that he should to hold on to that lead for like 45 seconds was impressive. You'll see it later on. But yeah, basically Neil was hurling, like he'll see it up here shortly where probably this lap where Tommy Horn makes a mistake in the doubles and then Neil gets by. But at the same time, just off camera, Arlovski kind of tucked it into the hose right there. There we go. We can see it. There's Tommy Horn, makes a mistake. Then you see Arlovski there. And then Neil Craig, who is in the back, lurking, just takes over. I remember when I saw this, I'm sitting there saying, no freaking way. Neil Craig is going to win A1 of MKGP, this wily veteran. And then I watched him he caught like perfect racecraft in line. He wasn't, he slowed everything down. He held them guys up and he won this race. And I think all of England celebrated.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's a saying here, like, you can never count Neil out. And he's one of those drivers where he's just got that. He's definitely a part-time racer. And like, he's just got that talent. Like, he doesn't practice much and it's just sort of, he stays there. But yeah, like, it always seems like whenever Neil, like, makes a move or gets into the lead, like the whole, like, of the UK, like, if you guys watch to the end of the video, once he crosses the line, like, the whole, like, hall goes crazy. Like, especially, from 7th to first. Like, it was quite funny because I overheard, I saw one of my, like, teammates, like Chris Bowden, like, he was like, oh, if Kinvold can win it from 8th, then, I think Neil can do it. And then literally, like, in the race, like, Neil went from 7th to 1st. Sadly, he wasn't able to do it in the other two legs. But, like, no. I mean, still, like...
Look at Lee Martin smiling. That. I wonder what he said. Is he smiling because Craigie won and then him and Kovacic? I don't know. But he goes right over to Craig. Yeah, he must be smiling because of Craig because he went right over to him and shakes his hand. Them guys been racing against each other for a long, long time. Even Coelho is coming off there smiling. That's good to see. That was a great A1. I was all ramped up and excited and hoping for a similar performance. I was like, can Neil do it? Has he got it in him? Can he do it? But have I made a mistake here? Yeah, unfortunately, like I would say that A2 was exciting. Coelho and Arlovski got out. They were battling each other. Coelho was right behind him, but then again, I think he made that mistake on that double, like that double on the far side, and then that just cost him, and that ended up allowing. Let's see, who is it? Her? Where's my notes here? Sorry. Two-wheel drive, yeah. Coelho battled off for most of the race, but he made that mistake on that double, and that kind of just allowed Arlovski to kind of cruise control to the end, take A1, and then A3. Once again, same thing. Arlovski kind of got up to the front. Well, obviously he started on pole. Him and Coelho had a battle, but again, Coelho made a mistake. Name of the game for Coelho this whole weekend was he made too many mistakes.
I mean, like, I do have to sort of like defend him anyway. Like the track, it was such a difficult track, and those switchbacks before the doubles, because they're so straight in front of you, it's really hard to judge the depth. Because it's a high speed corner, it caught a lot of people out, and there was a lot of arms broken for that section as well. I mean, but the thing is, if you get the line right and carry the speed, you can make so much time. And I think especially in finals where especially Bruno's trying to catch Orlowski. Like, I guess he was just trying to give it all he can, but it was a difficult section, and even the whole track itself was really difficult. A lot of people made mistakes.
But this track also allowed for you to push and catch up to people, because then we go to four-wheel drive and we see Carup. Like, so we go to we go to four-wheel drive. Hold on. Let's go through our top 10 of two-wheel drive, and then we'll our winners of there. So we had no, that's qual points. Sorry. So it was Orlowski, Coelho, Tommy Hall, Neil Craig, Daniel Kovacic, Broc Champlin, Jamie Hall, Jordan Newman, Marcus Carup, Lee Martin, and Josh Holdsworth. That was your top 11. That was your 11 finals after the 3 A mains. Then we went to four-wheel drive mains. Oh, so tell us how that works. So they right immediately after this race, the last two-wheel drive final, they go right into four-wheel drive and truck qualifying?
Yeah, pretty much. I think just 5 minutes just to get a photo of the top 3, and then straight into four-wheel and trucks. That's basically how it goes on.
You weren't running four-wheel drive or truck, though. You just did two-wheel drive, right?
Yeah, I only did two-wheel. But luckily, my missus literally lives 5 minutes away from the shopping center, so I was basically there for all of four-wheel as well. To be honest, I should have raced thinking back of it, but yeah, I was there for all of it. To be honest.
Well, it's better to make your missus happy and not race. But you're still there. Like we said, Orlowski TQ'd all 5 rounds. He started on pole, Coelho in second, and Carup third, I believe. And that's how they would start off. A1 happened of like this. And like you could tell, like Orlowski, like, all right, I'm not going to lose this. He was driving out there. He wasn't taking any chances. But Coelho was just pushing from behind. And once again, chasing him and made that mistake, and that just like Carup, but I can see like Carup was faster, right? I'm looking at him coming in the background, like Carup's got some pace on him. And once he was able to get past Coelho, man, it was like he just switched into beast mode, and I was like, I don't know how many championships this young guy is gonna win. That's what I said when I saw him go. I mean, he caught up to Orlowski, and they had a great battle to the end of this race, I believe. Yeah, man, tell us a little bit about this guy. Like he impresses me a lot. He really does.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus he's a really quiet kid, but I mean, holy crap! Like, he's got so much pace with that four-wheel. It's absolutely unreal. I mean, even in those finals, every final, I think he was not even more than half a second each time. I think 2 of the finals, he was like 100th of a second, something.
Yeah, it was so
stupid.
close. It was A2.
Like A1 and A2 maybe. That was so close. And even when Marcus did make a small bubble or mistake, within like a lap, he was sort of back there. I mean,
that's what was so impressive about him. He would make mistakes, but he was able to just come back from them. So I swear, Orlowski his sphincter must have been pulsating behind, right? Because that kid was coming, and he was trying his hardest to just get in front of him, man. And it just didn't happen. It was weird too, because he ended up not even in the end. He ended up coming third and not second. And Coelho came second, but Coelho won the last race. Second the second A2 was very similar. They got out to like Coelho, and they got out to a battle, and then Coelho makes a mistake. Carup gets by, and he is hunting Orlowski like, I don't know, like a tiger hunting an antelope.
Yeah, I gotta give as well credit to Michael, like to keep all that pressure as well, because I know Marcus, like he will take any opportunity, and not even in a bad way, like how Coelho made that move on Orlowski in A1. He will take a move, and Orlowski, he didn't really leave a room at any point. So that just showed how unreal these guys are, especially Marcus and Orlowski, Bruno. It was so close, and I thought at points, maybe there would have been a few takeouts, but no, nothing. To be honest, especially
there wasn't no real takeouts. He did him and that's where he passed. So I did notice that He was the only one that I saw that would really struggle. That jump in front of the driver's stand, Coelho struggled with that. So he came up, he got squarely, and then he missed it, and he went wide after the start finish. And then Carap, real quick, it looked like Carap hit him. But I mean, I slid it on. You saw Carap had the inside, and then Coelho came in to cut in like that and hit him, and that's when he went over like that. Real quick, it looked like Carap hit him, but it was really he had the inside. It was Coelho that hit him, to be honest. But I think you can't, like, Coelho can't be making these mistakes, not with these young kids, not with these young drivers. They're gonna pounce on that stuff. They're gonna pounce and not look back. I mean, look at what he done. So they, again, A2, great fight between Orlowski. You guys can watch all of this on Raceway 1. I can't remember the other. It was DDRC TV. I have to get the link for that as well.
Yeah, but DDRC. I think that's what it was. Those were the guys.
That's what it was. You guys need to watch this because this kid is flying. Like, A3 came along. Broc Champlin shows up. Orlowski wins it. He doesn't have to. Hold on. A2 was so close that freaking Orlowski looked at him and was like, "Oh man, that was a good race." Like, he must have been like, "I'm so glad I did that." And 2 races didn't have to go to A3. I think that this kid plus a few Tommy Halls and Noah, all these young guys, I think these young guys, they're gonna be giving the Orlowskis, the Coelhos, the Wendy Ongaras, and Ronald folks get on these tracks. They're gonna be giving these guys some headaches, Will. Headaches. They're gonna be beating them. It's not the future of carpet racing in Europe right now. In the next 5 years, is looking extremely awesome.
Yeah, I think it's what kind of notice, like when even when I started doing EOS like in 2015, like everyone like in the EOS A mains, they were kind of like the factory fully paid, but like these were guys like basically adults, like mid-20s, like in their 30s. But now it seems like even though the EOS last gone, like half of them are like damn kids, like in these A mains, and it's crazy. Like I don't know what's happened in the last few years, but all these like younger kids, like they can at points like keep up or even beat some of these top guys, and I think that's really great for the sport because it means there's going to be fresh blood and really good competition coming in the next few years. So
these kids, when they get to that level where like Orlowski and those guys, well, I shouldn't say that level. I mean, Karap is a champion, a European champion, and so is Tommy Hall. But they're on them. I say drivers like them, Barkan Killick in 8 scale, little bump in 8 scale, and a couple of these young drivers around the world. They're developing a driving skill that these older drivers aren't going to be able to repeat, in my opinion. That's like when we thought, like, we came out, like when I was younger, if you turned your wheels that way and that way, you was a star. Then, oh wow, you can do a whip, you can do this. Now we're scrubbing, and we figured out all this stuff. But these young drivers, their reactions are too fast. They're taking it to a whole nother level. I saw it at the Worlds with Barkan, and those younger guys like Barkan, Daniel Parente, all those young guys, right? But this is the 10 scale version. And Karap, because I watched Karap drive as well. Very impressive. A3, Broc shows up. He finishes second. Coelho takes 1. He ends up taking, that gives him second for overall for full drive. Orlowski takes the sweep. Karap in 3rd. Broc Champlin 5th. Tommy Hall 4th. Kobovic 7th. Bartek Zalowski, who's another young fast driver, up and coming, 7th. Johnny Skidmore 8th. Neil Craig 9th. Jamie Hall 9th. And Mika Widdermeyer 11th. That ends your MKGP. It did look like A3 or four-wheel drive. There wasn't as many spectators though. I guess everybody was going home, was later on in the evening. Did you stay for A3?
Yeah, I did. I mean, the problem was because in the UK, most shops on a Sunday will shut around 4:00, and I think by the time A3 was on, it was already like 4:30. So
okay,
that was the reason why there was less spectators.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit, Will. Tell me what some of the experiences that you had from there, maybe some stories, something you might have heard, any rumors, anything that impressed you at this race.
I mean, unfortunately, no rumors or anything as far as I'm aware. But I mean, I think I have a feeling this carpet might be something that will start to take off a bit. Because I think that EOS stuff has been great, but I think it's something that it wears out. It goes through a phase where it's amazing and it's tire wear and it's high grip, but then it's also drop off. But I mean, obviously, there was only one event, but I feel like this new carpet might be something that be more people starting to use, and I think things are going to get even quicker because it's higher grip. So I think cars. I mean, we're going fast already, and I think now maybe with this carpet thing, going to go even to another level. I can really see that happening. Maybe some. Do
you think that EOS should do something like this in a mall somewhere? Do you think it's feasible for them to do it?
I think they should, and I'm really surprised they haven't considered doing a collaboration with Silverstone and the Milton Keynes guys. Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, they will have the numbers. Like people will 100% do it with the numbers. So I don't think cost-wise will be an issue because I think they'll recoup that. But I think it's something they 100% should do. And I think even I did a EOS a few years ago at it was a motorsports expo, and that was amazing because that was sort of a similar thing but in Poland, and that was great because not only did we have a car show where we could go around to when we went racing, but it was a great way also to get a race out there. So I think maybe one thing that'd be great for the future. I mean, even if EOS did this or even other events, more events should try to capitalize in hosting a race within events. And most of the time, I mean, I don't know the cost, but I can imagine obviously it's a headache to get stuff there. But I think that's something that will be really good for the sport, and it makes the races feel like they're in a different atmosphere. Something is way bigger, and it also gives you something to do when you're not racing.
Yeah, I suggested this. So they have in the American now, Raw has they started last year. They have a Dark Nationals and they have a Carpet Nationals, right? I said to the President Clayton, I was like, did you see that? I said, yeah, that's cool. I said, that's what Raw needs to do. I said, you got Carpet Nationals, put it in the mall somewhere, that's, I hope, this. As much as I love 1/8 scale nitro buggy racing, this is the type of stuff that's going to bring racing to people. It's going to get more people into racing, in my opinion. Taking it to the people, showing people. See, this is the one thing that we fail to realize. The most important thing in RC is people, right? Without people, we can't do anything. Without people, we can't have interest. Without people, we can't have tracks. Without people, we can't have racing. But we never put no focus on getting more people or showing more people what we do. But events like this help it. Everybody says if you build a track, this would happen and this will happen. I think it's vice versa. Yes, building tracks help get people racing and stuff like that too. But you can have too many tracks, and then that dilutes, and there's too much focus on tracks and not having people. But I think this is an excellent event. I think we should have more races like this. It should be just these two classes: 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out truck too. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out thing where you're there all day. Make it exciting, cater this event to spectators, have things set up so they can do it. Similar, like the Visions race does the similar thing for 8 scale. Maybe not as many people because it's in a big area where people are doing their own thing. But for 110 scale, this is what we should be striving for in America at some point. In my opinion. And more races like EOS, BRCA should be EFRA should be trying to have a Worlds. We should have a Worlds. Well, that probably too much. It's a little long. But let's try and get some more of these races in areas or alongside events. I hope so. But otherwise, it looks like a great event. I really want to come there next year. Kudos to everybody involved that done it. Kudos to the Silverstone crew. I hope they do it again next year. I hope to be there. And even just to the BRCA for being involved with it and whatnot like that. So, Will, anything you want to say before we talk a little bit of Worlds? Max and I talked Worlds. You're going, and I want to get your opinion. The tires are out. People are freaking out. What's your thoughts on this, Will? As a European, British person going to America, this should be a first time going to America to race, right?
Yeah, first time to go. So, oh man,
you nervous? No, you got AKA Clay Slicks, no sauce. I think you Europeans are in a pickle. I think people who used to go over and run excuse me, the Reedy race are fine. They'll be all right. But guys like you who haven't raced on this type of surface,
well, I kind of have two opinions to this as a European. I think the first thing, I mean, I guess in a way, like, I don't want to say it's like on us, like it's unfair because like we don't source, but it's just we just don't do it, so we haven't got the experience doing it, and it's not something we do here. Like we don't even have like sort of, it's not anywhere relatively close or somewhere I could buy tire source from. So in a way, it's like I kind of.
But there's no source allowed at this race.
Yeah,
No
exactly. So that's why I'm like, to be honest, it's like fair enough. Like it's not. I mean, I can see what I did at, but do you ever think I'm kind of like, I don't see what I didn't do was maybe have a spec source like the Reedy race, because it works.
I agree with you. Have a spec
because
source.
Because I feel like, in my opinion, like, these slicks are designed to be sourced, and then you're racing in America. And I feel like America now is about source, and that's how you get, like me as a European, I want to go out to America and have the proper experience and do it properly. And like, yeah, will I be a bit behind on the tire game? Yeah, but like, I mean, myself, I'm an associated driver with CML, but I know through Neil and Lee and so on, so I'll be able to hopefully figure it out and stuff. I mean, but that's just me. I don't know about the others. So like, but and maybe I'll be able to obviously talk to some of the American guys, and maybe they would help me out, which I'm sure they would. So, but I mean, I guess in my opinion, that's sort of one of the two ways I think it should go. I understand why they haven't done the source way, but now I'm a bit skeptical because it's a clay tire, and like I've heard guys some laps it feels like the car's gripped up as anything, and then some laps the car feels like it's broken, and that's with source. So now it's gonna be a bit of a weird one to see what's going to be like without source at the Worlds. But I'm really excited for it. Like I've never been to America to race, so
do you think the fast Europeans will still be faster? Do you think we'll see Orlowski? You think we'll see a Carup, Tommy Hall, maybe making these finals? Maybe a person like Craggy, Ronafalk, Ongaro? I
still think it's going to be the guys that have had experience with source at least before will have the best chance. I mean, I don't know if the guys like Carup they will be fast for sure, but I mean, I have to use a bit of logic here. Like, do I think they'll be at the top? I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, they have the skills to do it, but like the problem is
no experience on this type of surface.
Exactly, but I mean now again, because it's not sourced, and we in Europe, we have a good mix of really high grip and fairly low grip as well. So we might be okay. But obviously, a lot of the Americans have been a hobby, and the Americans are quick. So
Spencer dominated there.
Spencer. Yeah, there's Spencer, then there's Mayfield. I feel like Mayfield, he will have a really good chance because he's got the confidence. I think like at a Worlds, even if you're a really good driver, I feel like even if you're a really good driver and you go to like a Desert Classic or like the old Reedy race or whatever, it's still different to a Worlds, because a Worlds like anything can happen, and like if you have that experience with Worlds like someone like Mayfield does, or even Neil and so on, I think that's so valuable to have, because Worlds are, I'll never win a Worlds, but it's obviously one of the hardest things to win an RC. So
yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting. I hope to be there. I'm sure this tire talk and everything, it's going to be a lot of this leading up to September. I'm sure there's going to be like people out there right now testing, trying, figuring out things. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of source drama if they don't have a spec source. But I did listen to Jake on the Extra Lap podcast, and they seem I'm pretty sure they had an idea what tire they were going to use when he made this interview, but they seem to have, they're going to put on a very professional event. I'm looking forward to it. What I would like to see is more American companies maybe looking at this MKGP as look, let's be honest. This race is good for RC. And I think that the manufacturers should get behind it, and they should be sending the top American talent over to this race. I understand that there's a lot of races going on, but I would love to see Aiden Horns, the CFTs, Dakota Fens, the Mayfields, the Rivkins, Tessman come to this race. And I hope, I think there's a lot of things that the Americans will like this race. Why? One, it's not already a existing track. They always say that Europeans have a more of an advantage because the track's been there for a while. This is 10 scale, doesn't really happen. Two, it's in a mall where you can get so much exposure for your brand. We need to grow RC. And three, we need to see more Europeans. I mean, the Europeans come over to the Florida carpet race. It's a destination where they come. It's time for the Americans to come over. And I think with the exposure that this got with Scotty coming over there, and I think this race, this last event, this last weekend, is going to push it over that level where we see some of these drivers come. I really do. I think we're going to see a contingent of, just like we see a contingent of European guys and whatnot come to the Florida race and to DNC, we're going to see a contingent of, it's probably just going to start with just regular guys coming over there to race it. So I hope so. I would love to see Fend over there. Trust me. I would love to see all them guys over there.
Yeah, I think it'll be great if we get like the Americans to come over. And then because like even when I used to come to some of them used to come to the EOS, it was, I think it was really good for the RC scene. And like, I think Europe has a unique carpet a unique carpet scene. And I think it'll be great to have the Americans over. And then like, I think it'll be great for everyone because I feel like the Americans and the UK and the Europeans don't race that much. And I think it'll be great to see more of it. And
I think the Europeans go to America a lot more than the Europeans come over to America.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that.
I mean, also it's cheaper, a little bit cheaper, and I get it. Like, it's a lot of people's dream to go over and do a really race, or it's a lot of people's dream to go over and do a DNC, right? But Europe just doesn't have that race anymore. It was Neo before. Neo was that race that everybody wanted to go. So we need a race like that for 10 scale. And we need a race like that for 1/8 scale, in my opinion. But good job. What's next for you, Bill? What are you doing after this? What's your next race?
Well, I mean, for us in the next 2 weeks, sort of the regionals start, the nationals start. So that's sort of where I'm going to be. And then probably towards the end of August, I'm going to start preparing for the Worlds. I don't really have I have an 8 scale. I have a few 8 scale tracks close by, but I mean, I might try to get some practice. But yeah, I mean, just going to enjoy it and, do the best I can throughout the year and obviously enjoy it at the end of the day. And yeah, get ready for the big W. The Worlds, not the win. So there's no way in hell I'm winning that.
I have another question for you, and it's about these young guys, and Max and I touched on it. And you see these young guys in Europe, like that we talked about, the Holes and the Carrops and the Ben Mohammeds and all these guys. The what's the other young guy? What's the S-Works driver? I met him.
Oh, Mika.
No, the other one. Mika's too, but I'm talking about younger. Clement Boda. Sorry, how could I forget his name? These young guys. He's a little older, but we see, I mean, Max and I said it. We have a 14-year-old European champion and a 16-year-old European champion, right? When was the last time? In America, it doesn't seem to happen like that. Yes, Rivkin was like 15-year-old world champion, right? Young, but we haven't seen anybody since then. But here in the UK, you have in Europe, you have a plethora for these young guys. You have a guy from England who's a world champion, European champion, and then you have the guy from Denmark, and they've gotten better like since then. They're not dropping off. So we kind of thought about it, and we just, my buddy and I were talking about it, and it came down to, we thought like concentrated, not spreading yourself thin over so many classes is key, because I think like in the UK, obviously in Europe, 2-wheel drive is the most popular 10 scale class. I don't think you run 4-wheel drive every time you go club race, right? You run 2-wheel drive.
Yeah, right. That's basically the UK thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a European thing. They also only focus on like nitro buggy. No, they have, obviously they have the nationals for that in the UK. But I mean, the kind of proofs in they put in, like not less focus over a variety of classes, focus on 1 or 2 classes and being really good at them and being really good at them and becoming European champions. And then some of these guys go on to be world champions.
Yeah, I definitely think that's part of their success. I mean, I can speak for this more for the UK guys like Tommy and Jamie, and I'm not so sure about Marcus, but like in the UK, the 10 scale scene is so easily accessible. Like, I know even for me, I have 5, maybe even 6 tracks in the perimeter of an hour. And even for the halls, they have like they're not too far from many tracks as well. And I think I think my furthest national is only maybe maximum 3-hour drive. So I think with us, like, not only is there so many tracks and different types of tracks around us, you know, we also have really great competition, especially with Neil. Like, Neil still, I mean, he's still winning our nationals, and, you know, Lee's like, I think Lee's starting to bounce back a lot as well. Even Michael comes to our nationals now. So I think it's when you race, like anyone knows, when you start racing against these like better drivers, it obviously you can become such a better driver because you're starting to push yourself a lot more. I mean, like, Marcus has a lot of the European races, I believe. So I think it's, although he hasn't, I don't know what the racing scene in Denmark is like, but there's obviously a lot of tracks around Europe. And I know Marcus's dad, Jonas, I believe he was a European.
I think he's a 2-time European champion.
Yeah, I know he was very quick, and he was actually telling me a lot of stories at dawn about it. So I think that's that's another reason why a lot of these Europeans are getting so quick, as well as how easily accessible it is now as well.
I think that comes from in the UK, and I think the Americans have to kind of adapt this as well. Semi-permanent tracks. I think that's because of the size, and also UK is a lot smaller, much more condensed. You get around more of the RC scene more. Obviously, the American RC scene is so spread out, but a track for a carpet track, you don't have to have a dedicated hall and a dedicated building and all that stuff. You can, I think that model of RC track needs to catch on a bit. It's starting to, but needs to catch on a bit more in America, where you go in and you set up for that night, or you set up just for that weekend. So I hope that it does. That will bring more tracks and more people make it easier for people. Hopefully, some of AFRA and some of these other federations, the EOS, ROAR, and all these people that have carpet racing see what's going on here with the MKGP, and we replicate that around the world, not just in Europe and America, but wherever there's racing. And I thoroughly hope that the Americans pay attention and send some of their top drivers over to this race next year, because this race is banging, it's getting popular, and I can only see it growing from here on out. No, seriously.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I agree. I think it'll be amazing to get more of the Americans over. I think from what I see, the EOS this year there's only 2 rounds sort of, and they're both in Germany, which is a little bit disappointing. But it'll be great if maybe MK sort of filled that void and got a lot of now, they got a lot of international guys at this one, and I can't see why next year they can't get even more. And I think the guys deserve it. Like, as you and me know, I started a lot of my racing there, and I have a bit of a soft spot for them, for that club, because that's how I feel like I came when I was a racer. But they've been around for years, and they took the initiative to do this race, and it was flawless. Like, there was not really any complaints about the race itself over the weekend. That's good. And they work together with the federation. That's what I like to see. Perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. All right, and that's another thing. They have proper working federations, but Raw's working on that. Will, thank you for your time. It was a great chat about the race. I'm sure you'll be back on this podcast at some time. There's a lot more racing going on. I really enjoy our chats. Max wanted to be here. If you would have done this yesterday, Max would have been here. He's like, I'm going to try and come tomorrow. I was like, Max, if you don't come, it's all right. He enjoys having another European one that isn't Joseph to talk with. So thank you for your time. I'm glad you went. Enjoy your weekend off from racing, and good luck at your next race, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for having me on.
All right. And hey, we'll see each other at the Worlds, I think. We'll see each other at the Worlds. Maybe next year at this race, if not.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sure. Either way, we'll meet up like all the time.
Sweet. Thanks, Will. Talk to you later.
Thanks so much. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Will, for your time. The MKGP looks awesome. Kudos to everybody out there that's putting in the work. I hope to be there next year. All right. So another big race that's coming up here in May. Actually, the dates are May. I have them here. I think it's 12th to the 14th. taking place in Barcelos, Portugal. It is the 5th edition of the International Buggy Challenge. This is a great race. The Euros was at this track as well last year. It was it like, did they do one day was IBC and then the Euros after that, I think?
That was the warm-up, yeah. So
okay, that was the warm-up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. But basically, the International Buggy Challenge is coming up May 12th to 14th. It's going to be a great event. There's a possibility I might be there as well, so I'm looking forward to this. All the top names in Europe are going. I know Ronafok's going, JQ's going, Badier. I heard everybody's going. I think it's the weekend after Silver State as well. But check it out. If you're going to be there, get in, sign up. Started yesterday. On the 14th. So check them out, and thank you. Hey, man, I think this race is great. I think the track is awesome, and I hope to be there myself. That's right. Hey, man, I think I really want to go to this race, so I think I might go.
Yeah, I think like I didn't go to the Euros. I got sick just before, and then I just feel like I'm not going to risk it, and I skipped it. But hearing from everyone, the venue was absolutely amazing, and I know the Figueiredos are really passionate about RC, so they have put a lot of time into it. The track looks really cool. I'd say it's been the biggest race in Europe, like since because this was the only big race that went on during COVID. So like the lockdowns just dropped, and they could hold this race then. And like that year, this was the biggest race, and yeah, since then I've been like kind of looking forward to watching this race. Obviously, I wanted to go for the Euros, but yeah, it's a really nice race.
I might be there. So we'll see. Yeah. All right, Max. So we're going to conclude this race. Also, sorry, I'll leave links for sign up and all of that in the written description if you wish to do that. Links to their Facebook as well. So you wanted to close off on this because JQ mentioned it last week. He made a video about this. Everybody's talking about it. The Hall brothers have got a great YouTube channel, by the way, and they made a video about upside down shocks. So let's hear what you have to say, Maximus.
Yeah, let me get some pictures here.
Oh, Max, you're supposed to have all of this prepared. And I'll see you got no camera, so you can't use your hands to tell us how you're doing.
Yeah. Why doesn't this work? Am I doing something wrong?
The StreamYard's got you all messed up.
It didn't show up on the thing. Okay, let me try again.
It's actually that, you know what? That video by JQ was actually really good. I watched it. I don't really like all that science mode stuff. I shouldn't say I don't like it. I just hear it so much. I don't look for it. But his editing, it was funny. It was a good video. It was a great video. We got it.
Okay. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay, finally. So it all started from this. Hall brothers made the video. They had been running like this. Then there was no, that's the wrong one. This one, Ben Mohammed from France, he was running it like this. Posted on Facebook. This was like, I talked about it in a podcast like a few weeks ago. I think like before DNC and all that. So then, this guy, Joseph, makes a video about it. And really goes in on this on the internet. So everyone's talking about it. And then at the MKGP, you have Gyrup running his shocks upside down, finishing third in four-wheel drive. He's running both front and rear. And then you have Elliot Boots even running S-Works, shocks upside down. And I don't remember if other brands ran the shocks upside down. But basically, it's a full-on spread of this virus right now. If you want like an in-depth explanation of why this isn't probably the best idea, or why there might be better solutions, you can watch the Joseph's video, which is, yeah, it was good. But there was a few things I wanted to add that Joseph didn't really dig too deep into in the video. Like, one thing about this is that what is like counterintuitive is the fact that effectively all you are doing by moving the shocks down or the upside down like this, apart from, yes, there is a minor, moment of inertia and center of gravity change. Apart from that, all you're doing is just adding unsprung weight, which effectively means that you're reducing damping. So the car works as if you had like worse shocks or less shocks. Okay, so all the things you want to do with the shocks, now you're doing less of, balancing the car over bumps or jumps, or even in the corners, the damping doesn't work the same. The springs do work the same, but the damping doesn't. Well, actually, the springs even work a bit differently because you have less or more unsprung weight. So that is, it's funny because this kind of stuff always happens. Like, people do something that's just not within the laws of physics, and then it works better for a reason, but they don't realize the fact that why it works better is because something else is wrong. And yeah, Joseph provided some good solutions to that in his video, which I believe are just going to be much better. And one thing, like, you could just lay down your shocks more if you wanted more progressive, less smoother damping, which effectively this kind of does. That could be one solution you're looking after. That would also lower your center of gravity. But yeah, I'm a kind of, like, to be honest, I'm just a bit disappointed, And you're on mute.
Let me unmute myself. So right away, Joey Fisher sends me a post and tells me to send it to JQ. Oh, the Halls brothers, everybody's running their shocks upside down at the MKGP and da. So, I mean, well, you just saw Karep's picture. I mean, he's going full upside down, front and rear. Mm-hmm. Boots is running it. I wonder if the guy who won all of this was running upside down shocks.
Oh, Michael Orlowski.
But
none of the Schumacher guys.
Okay, but we cannot argue that Karep was extremely fast, and Hall. He was third. Tommy Hall. He was third in qualifying.
But that is the thing. I don't doubt that they are doing. Like, I don't doubt that they are having some placebo or whatever. They most likely are getting better lap times and so on with the setup like this. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. Okay, but the thing is just that. I guess this was just an easy solution for them. Yeah, but I think the point Joseph was trying to make was there are better ways of doing it. And I think it's kind of like, it is kind of annoying when people go for the sort of the Band-Aid setup first. Like, one thing I absolutely hate is people saying like, oh, I like my car heavy because it's easier to drive. Well, have you thought maybe you could actually change the setup and make it easier to drive that way? It's so I have a video about the weights too on my channel, so you can go check that out.
It sounds like to me that you and Jealous in your engineer brain, Jealous JQ, sorry, in your engineer brains, look at this like, and I like blasphemy almost. Like, I don't know, like what? I mean, like, you guys are like, I can see you and JQ just sitting there like, and just freaking out, like, because your engineering brains are like, they should do this and they should do that and they should do that. But I mean, if this works, right?
Yeah, the reason why I'm having such difficulty going like full on, this absolutely sucks, like screw you guys, you don't know what you're doing, is because they are like, I cannot argue against the fact that it is a pragmatic solution. It most likely will do what they are looking for, and it will help them. But the fact that when that works on your car, my brain goes, okay, there's something wrong with the car. When you have to put an extra weight on your car, in my brain, it's like, there's something wrong with my car. When I have to do some solutions that technically doesn't provide me, like, I cannot logically explain why they would work better in the laws of physics, so to say, then I know something in what I'm doing is wrong. And, I'm just correcting that wrong thing with what I'm adjusting. Like here, the shocks, in some scenarios, adding weight to the car. And yeah, that's the reason why it's so hard, because I don't argue against the fact that they are getting better results like this, but just that it's like the fact that they're happy with the situation. That's what frustrates me. And also the fact that people are going to be like, oh, it worked, it's kind of great, I'm going to do it too, and then they have no clue what they do.
Are you afraid that we're just going to see a whole bunch of cars with upside down shocks?
Oh, 100%. Like Boots, he did it, probably like just tried it because he saw Hall Brothers do it. And in the end, he was running his four-wheel drive shocks the normal way around. So
we shall see.
Yeah,
we shall see. I hope they make a rebuttal video. I
think so too. I think like absolutely, like I think it's good the way Joseph put it. Like it's like they need to try it, and I think like no offense to Carup or Hall Brothers, they had good results. Obviously, it's not like they. I mean, I bet they would have worse results if they ran their shocks the normal way around. Like I think that's pretty sure, but I think this is a great opportunity to sort of go one step further. You do this, you realize you're doing better, and then you're like, okay, let's actually do it like the right way around, and you still make it better, even better than what they're doing now. And that's what Joseph said in his video too, which is absolutely the right thing. And I think the Hall Brothers are actually going to take up on his.
I hope they do.
I hope they do. Recommendation.
When they're busy from not doing well, Max and Joseph. No, I mean, when they're not busy from doing well. We shall see, man. These I like them. I met him and his dad, Tommy and his dad at the FCC. I haven't met the older brother. So, hey, I don't know.
Yeah,
hey,
and
I hope we got a rebuttal just because I want to see if they've tried JQ's stuff.
Yeah, I have. And to me, it's actually interesting because oftentimes, me and JQ especially, like we can test stuff. And the thing is, we know what we're testing. So it's hard to be like, oh, I feel this, because you are in your mind, you're fighting for that feeling. You're fighting like, what does it change? And also, we are not like European champion drivers. We are fast, but we are not who can take the last like 5/10 out of the car. Like someone like Tommy Hall is, like he can win a European championship against the fastest in Europe. So and that has always been a thing Joseph has learned, what we discussed last summer, what he's learned with David, because he's such a talented driver that you just have to do some things to make him so that he can make the car work 100% for him. So that's why, to me, it's also interesting to see Tommy both of the Hall brothers try it out and then hear what they have to actually think about it. So I absolutely hope that they do it. And yeah, and I watched, I think pretty much all of their videos at this point, and they are doing a really good job, and I really like the attitude. So for entertainment's sake, I'm like waiting for.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Yeah. I want to see a good old I want to see a good old nerdy YouTube fight. Not a fight, but you know what I mean.
But it's like the thing is, this is the good type of fight because it's like helping each other.
Challenges.
Yeah.
All right. You see this a lot in the Basher world, like collaborations with different YouTube celebrities and stuff like that.
And then we definitely need, because like the Hall brothers are like the first generation to be living in the TikTok era, like growing up in the TikTok era. Like if you look at like David and Ongaro is, first of all, he's like maybe a little bit different culture because it's from South Europe, and then David is a little bit too old. But like the Hall brothers, they understand like how YouTube works and stuff like that. So they are like they're kind of like
you can see it in the channel.
Yeah, and it's like the first Gen Z, RC pros. Like they are kind of that. I mean, I'm Gen Z, but I'm not a pro. So
yeah. All right, I think that's enough, Max. We've been good. It's been good to chat with you again. Yeah, I had a blast this podcast. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Will, for your time. Thank you, everybody that sent in the questions for us. I know a lot of you guys have been seeing my posts on Facebook and all this type of stuff. I think a lot of you are kind of missing the point. I'm gonna have a point. I have a point for that. I'll release that next week because I have a few more posts to make as I'm recording this. But you guys are missing one common denominator in this post that I'm making. So yeah, people who know will figure it out. Max, I think that's it. We're gonna call it a day. I don't even know what's going on this weekend race wise. I haven't checked the calendar. I think it's going to be an off weekend for me and I'm going to the beach or something like that. We'll see. But I think, you guys enjoy your weekend of racing. Be safe. Remember, spread the RC love. Everybody is an RC ambassador. I want to say thank you to the NNRC squad around the world. Remember, everybody, thank you for listening to us. Please hit that share button, share our stuff. If you haven't joined our YouTube yet, please do. We're trying to boost that. We want to get that up to 4,000 viewers. 4,000 subs as soon as possible. And more. So hit that sub, like, notification, leave a comment. Sure. Yeah, we need that. If you're listening on the audio side, leave a review. It helps us out. Thank you to these awesome companies. If you want to show the podcast support, you can. There are links for every one of these in the written description of this podcast. They are Invisible Speed, High Tech RC, Sun Pedal USA, Sidewinder Fuel, Mayako, Beach RC, Techno RC, Clinic RC, Ignite Design RC, Bringing Gas Truck Back, Racecraft RC, Racecraft USA, Car RC. I have some coupon codes. You can save some money off some of their products in there. WRC, shout out to House of RC, RCGP, shout out to our drivers, our NNRC drivers. They are David Runnerfolk, Jared Tebow, Robert Badier, and Alexander Hagberg. Max, I'm done. Nitro is the glory. E-Buggy pays the bills. If you ain't grinding the sliding.
Goodbye, everyone.
Max and Lefty out. We'll be back next week. And you all have a good weekend. Thank you for your time. One love.